All right, we're live now.
Almost counted the kitty.
Okay. Let's make sure. I want to make sure I can get everyone in the frame. So come here.
But that one
You?
may not be
Over here.
Shimmy, shimmy.
What are you over there for?
because I
I
can
don't
see
know
the
if I'll
cat
be on
so
camera.
well over here.
The cat's gonna be a distraction this entire time.
Yeah.
Okay, so now the camera's going. Everyone's shy. I see.
I'll be like barely in it, but not fully in it.
Okay. We need the cat though.
I don't bite hard.
The cat's what's
Yeah,
selling.
bring Dexter.
The cat's selling
You're
everything.
Alright, I'm not sure how long we're gonna go, but I probably will have to cut out at a certain point because I gotta get
Okay.
up at like 4:30
I feel
or
that.
something like that.
We'll go get food in like. Wait, do we have snacks?
We got hummus and pita chips.
I am good on the food. I ate Thai food for a good
Got some
lucky.
hummus.
Popcorn macaroni.
Can we get some hummus, David? Can you chauffeur us?
Hummus slave.
Kitty kid.
This is Henry Dexter, you guys.
Henry Dexter.
It's my son.
Oh, I don't think you like that. You're Simba now.
We got
Color matches
peaches.
your shirt.
Got cheese.
Hummus and chips.
We have little
Hummus and chips.
we have little yogurt.
We go.
Where's Dexter?
It's okay. He's just hanging out.
He's so confused. Like, I was on the floor now. Where am
I'm king of the world.
I? Dexter.
Use my arm as a bridge.
This isn't even a podcast. We're just playing with the cat.
Welcome to Cat Magic.
Cat magic.
Yeah.
All right, I'm rebranding the show. This
Cat
is Cat
Magic.
Magic now. Right on. Hummus
Hummus time.
and cayenne pepper.
Oh yeah.
Fuck those chips.
It needs. I mean, I don't know. I like my stuff more spicy. That's up to you guys. It's like red pepper hummus, but that's not really spicy. So that's up to you guys.
Kick it up a notch. I like it.
It needs more violence. Violence in my mouth.
I need violence in my hummus.
I want to see half that bottle empty, Alex.
You know me. Hummus makes me cummus. So
Yeah.
I'll have it gone for you.
You take a scoop of hummus and you do a line of cayenne.
Philip says your tapestry is the shit, David, and I agree. It is badass. You can't even see the whole thing, but it's Moon Tarot.
Don't move too much. You're gonna knock me
Bro doesn't know what he's talking about.
David says you're wrong. It's stupid. This tapestry's dumb.
Ask Philip
Dexter.
if he's just some random who joined.
If he's just some random who joined. Are you just some random? Are you an anon?
It's a bot.
It's a bot. Yeah.
Send me the virus link.
yeah. Send us the porn links that just crash our computers.
Exactly.
Confirm your.
I'm just trying to download Numb from Linkin Park off of LimeWare.
It's 2007. Oh my god. No, it's just taking you that long.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Can you patch me?
It took that long. It says on 2% like 3 days
Henry.
ago.
I want to see if you like hummus. Come on, baby.
Will you eat it?
I had a cat that loved hot Cheetos.
That's
Yeah,
amazing.
my old cat did, and he loved watermelon too.
Watermelon.
Oh no, you didn't like it.
What if cats ate hummus and spontaneously combusted? We found that out today on Live on Air.
Oh shit. This would get a lot of views.
There would be. I'm like, whoa, did you know?
I'd feel bad for the cat,
Chickpeas
but I'd
and
also be
cats.
like, low key, that's kind of cool. So I guess the first thing we need to talk about is how crazy it is to be alive right now, and
Amen.
how insane the times we're living in are.
Yeah.
Like, that's like in broad terms and also like specifics, like what happened last weekend with the protests, what happened a couple months ago with George Floyd, what's been happening with the virus. It's like, and even before all of that, like even before all the recent pandemics, being alive in this time is so unprecedented because this is a rant I've gone on a lot, but like cars and radios and all this stuff has not existed. I mean, the internet even more recent, but all this shit's only existed for like
Right.
150 years.
Yeah, and it's in your face every second of every day at your fingertips.
Yeah.
So it's like instant information regarding everything that's going on. And so it's almost overload. You know what I'm saying? Like it's always in your face. It's always present. Whereas back in the day, you could turn on the radio or turn on the news and you're like, okay, that's the news, but you could carry on with your life. You could pick up the pieces and go. Now I feel like this has taken more of a psychological toll. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like honestly, the whole, it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like no one, I mean, obviously no one expected anything like this and no one was prepared for anything like this, like concerning the virus. But like, with the protests and stuff, like you hear this, it's not like it's something recent. We've been hearing about police brutality for, well, I mean, forever, right?
Oh yeah.
Like,
Easily.
I was going to say like the last 10 years, but no, like all the way back.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is like, people think everything died out with civil rights, but it wasn't as televised. It was kind of hush hush. But then I think when everybody started broadcasting things on cell phones and you had a clear picture of what you could see, it's like, boom, this is every day. This is happening all around you in your cities, in your hometowns.
So would you say that it's not really that it's more, it's just that it's more, you're seeing it more.
Exactly.
It's more in your face.
You can't pretend this doesn't exist anymore. It's there. You know, it's like, okay, here's the truth. This is evident. Boom, it's all around you.
Yeah.
You also have the cameras that are mandatory for cops to
Body
wear now,
cams.
too.
Squeeze in, David. Come sit
Come
down.
on over, man.
Too entertained with this
We can all fit.
adorable kitten.
Bring the cat with you.
Oh, it'll find its way over
There
here.
were 3,
Attack
then there were
monkeys.
4. This is the lightest Brady Bunch group I've ever been with.
And we all just fit in frame, too. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a little harsh. It's better.
Oh yeah, softer lighting.
So, I actually want you to break down Memphis. Break down that
Right
whole
now?
experience.
That sounds like a good story, yeah.
If you don't mind.
Where do you want me to start?
From the beginning, like when you got off the subway or the train, whatever it was.
Yeah. So I got off the train, and we just kind of like got dropped off in the middle of the whole crowd, and so I decided to follow it. And people were getting really angry and impatient. Like we got to the bridge that we were supposed to go and take down, and the police wouldn't let us through. Like they had a line, and people started like trying to get through the police, and then they pepper sprayed us first. And so everybody split apart and tried to get themselves back together. And so we decided to go in for a second time, and everyone was even more mad. And then they did the tear gas cans, like they shot it at us, and that split us apart. So we tried to find a different way, and that's what we did. And it was pretty crazy. Like I said, people were on top of cop cars, and they stole like the riot shields from the police. So it's pretty, yeah, it's pretty wild. I enjoyed it.
They tried to burn down the courthouse here in Nashville. You hear about that? During, what was that,
yeah,
Sunday?
they did.
Yeah.
Yeah, one guy in particular.
They did, yeah.
Yeah. That's right.
He got indicted for that for sure.
You're right. I shouldn't say they, but like
Well,
not
there
the
was-
whole movement trying
yeah.
to do it. It was a guy who did that. Yeah.
Yeah, there was. It's noteworthy to say that he was a white male too.
Yeah.
So.
No, that is noteworthy because it's like.
Well, when you talk about destruction of like state properties, it's one thing. There's peaceful protesters, but there's also people that are like extremists, and they're looking for it's like their time to shine. They're like, oh, this is it. We can overthrow the government.
Yeah, and this is where it starts to get dicey for me because, like, okay, I'm not inciting violence. Like, I'm not trying to incite violence.
I am.
Anarchy.
But the silver lining, if you have police precincts blowing up, and even this is so, I probably shouldn't even say this, but the silver lining anytime you have casualties or lives lost is then the police are going to look at, okay, innocent people are dying, like innocent police officers are dying. We cannot allow any more bad PR for police. We cannot allow any more, like, anything getting out of us, any police brutality stuff. Because that does have consequences and it reflects upon all of us. But right now it actually doesn't because there's no consequences.
Well,
I mean,
the guy who just committed this last thing is actually he's on trial for murder.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the consequences are pretty stark.
and that's good. That's good. That's how it should be. And I hope that's what happens because things are going to get really bad if they don't.
But they can't get everybody.
If the justice system does not start working, people are going to take it into their own hands.
Yeah.
And that's not a threat. That's just facts.
Yeah, a message is being sent regardless.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm glad that guy's facing charges, and I hope he gets locked up forever, or they just fucking kill him. But, like, if they do, the legal system has to do that, though, right? Like,
Yeah, the justice system. That's
Yeah.
the whole point of all this, is where the justice system has failed us for so many years.
Yeah.
Where police aren't held to the same standards as normal citizens.
Mhm.
You know, and that's kind of the focal point. if you will.
Yep.
I never told you this either. My dad's a cop. I didn't tell you this.
Really?
Yeah, my dad's a police officer. He was a Metro police officer for about 36 years, and he lived in Virginia as well. He always bragged that he was never shot at or shot anybody. So I guess
That's a cool thing to
yeah,
brag about.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He's retired now, of course. He lives in Myrtle Beach. Yeah.
Right on.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to ask you if you have any stories, like your dad being a police officer, but
Yeah, there's
Maybe
nothing crazy. Yeah,
nothing
so maybe that's a
personal,
good thing, though.
Yeah.
You know, that there is nothing crazy.
no, yeah, it's not, yeah.
definitely
that
knew-
sounds like a good thing.
He definitely knew some crooked cops. That's like
Yeah.
a fact. Like they exist. They're in there. You know, that's
I'm sure you've seen the,
That's with anything with power,
Right.
though. Any
exactly.
position of power.
People abuse it, and that's
I
the issue.
think you've probably seen the hashtag ACAB thing that's been
I
going
have.
around.
Yeah.
And I think sort of the dialogue that's that's around that, not what's the phrase itself, but the dialogue surrounding it, what people are trying to say and maybe failing to, is that when you have one bad officer and that officer doesn't face any penalties for it and gets solidarity
Mhm.
and support, it makes all of them look bad.
Absolutely. Yeah. Chris Rock has a good joke about that. It's going viral right now about one bad apple spoiling the bunch, and about American Airlines. Like, you don't just have one bad pilot. They just like, I can't land the plane today. That's just not a thing.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, it's. I mean, it rings true. You have to have a line of police officers that are all there to do their job at the same, to held to the same standards. You can't just have somebody that's like, you know what, I'm going to abuse it today and kill somebody and just get away with it. And that's the whole issue. That's my whole thing as well. And it's sad because when cops know that there's other cops that haven't been found.
Yeah, that's a ringtone.
Well, that's embarrassing.
That was perfect.
That was good. Yeah, good timing on that.
Let me turn it down.
No, I liked it. It was uplifting. This is really grim stuff we're talking about.
It's like, oh, this podcast is going somewhere I didn't think it was going.
I think this podcast is about to take a turn.
No,
Yeah.
I think we're on the same page. You can't have bad apples. And like, as far as the all cops are bastards thing, I mean, some people, that's their job. They're supporting families. I have friends that are cops, and they're decent people, and they know people that abuse power all the time. But it takes those cops to speak up on behalf of those people,
Right.
and say, hey, I'm not going to
Yeah.
do my job if they're not going to do theirs.
Yes.
And that's what they should do.
That's really important. Policing yourself.
Exactly.
Policing the police.
Yeah.
Like, because if they're not going to police themselves, who's going to do that?
Exactly.
And that's how a lot of people feel right now is like, if they're not going to do it, someone has to.
Absolutely.
Well, there needs to be checks and balances in any kind of position of power that you have. And really, I can get behind all the peaceful protesting of what's going on and trying to bring about more awareness of the situation and the discrimination that people are feeling. But I'm not sure I can really get behind the like ACAB, like all cops are bastards. It seems to like maybe what you're saying is there's a general idea of what that means to people, but
Right.
just on its face value, it seems extremely
It's kind of
Well,
misleading.
implicit in what it means. And
I will say this. I don't know really how I feel about it, but I will say that it's definitely a slippery slope because when you start dehumanizing a group and saying that all of them are bad, that
I mean,
you can really rally
it's
behind
almost
that.
like you're doing the
And
exact.
it's violent.
It's like you're doing the same exact thing that you're trying to fight against, which is stereotyping and dehumanizing a group of
Okay.
individuals. 'Cause you're
I see
saying
what you
like
mean.
all black people are this. It's like saying no. Well,
Yeah,
actually, all cops
I would
are
agree with
this.
that.
It's the same line of reasoning that you're actually trying to fight against in the first place.
I see what you mean.
It's like trying to fight fire with gasoline.
It's-
yeah.
To be honest with you, it's really confusing, and I don't know what to think right now. Like about a lot of
I mean, cops are just like any other position of power. There's plenty of corrupt politicians, but we don't wave the banners of all politicians are evil or just in it for money or
Right.
what have you. There's good people. There's people with bad intentions, good intentions. People steeped in ignorance that just don't know the right path to go, and they think what they're doing is right. Everything in between. And so one thing I've been seeing that I really could get behind also is better police training. So like better
Absolutely.
better
Yeah.
de-escalation protocols, more rigorous training anytime that comes into situations like this to weed out those people who are just in it for to get off on the power they're exerting over other people. And the more and more stuff like this happens and it's being brought about, and this is a really good thing. As terrible as it is that this happened to this guy, it's an amazing thing that this guy's actually being put to justice. Because, like you were saying, there's been too many cops, and this isn't just a generalization about cops in general, but the people who there's been many of them that just get away with it. And the worst thing that happens is they get laid off for a
Slap
while
on the
or they
wrist,
get fired. But then outside of that, they don't really get much justice to them. And if it was just an average citizen, then it would be far worse. This situation, they really couldn't. They really couldn't get. His hands were pretty tied on this, I think, because there's video evidence from his own camera, other people shooting the video. A ridiculous amount of unnecessary force was exerted there without question. And
Without question.
Yeah.
And again, 15 years ago, you wouldn't have that vantage point of a 360 view of that being going down.
Oh yeah.
But now that you do, it's like you can't hide these terrible people that are abusing their power day in, day out anymore. That's going to come to light.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't get old. Side note, a drummer friend wants to play that beat like at our show. So that'll be fun one day. He's like, I should just sound check with that on loop. And I'm like, yeah, that'd be great. That's a great idea.
I'm trying not to be rude and look at my phone right now. I'm just doing a little behind the scenes setup.
So rude.
No. Oh God.
I'm just, crossing my eyes.
This is a random question. How old were all of you guys when you got cell phones?
Oh, I was like 12.
Okay, 12.
I think I was 19.
19? That's awesome.
I think I was like 16.
16? Also awesome. I got one when I was about 13, 14. It was a Nokia phone. You could run over it. You could throw a grenade on it. It would still work. You could still play Snake on it.
Yeah,
It was
the
great.
iPhone
Snake
4.
game on it.
Dude, Nokia
I
phones.
know, the
Indestructible.
iPhone, the first
Those are the
iPhone.
best.
It was the best, man. You could do anything with it. Just curious. I'm just curious because now kids are getting cell phones at
Yeah.
like 6.
Yeah.
Like 6-year-old
They have
iPhone
iPhones.
iPhone 11s and shit.
And they're automatically connected to the
Yeah.
internet.
I remember my mom wanted me to have one so she could keep in touch with me when I wasn't there.
That's what
It was
mine
like a
for.
protective mom
Yeah.
thing.
You could only call people on the weekends when it was free.
Did you want to add any? Did you have any input on what we're talking about? Police thing. Okay. I was
The
just
guy
curious.
off camera is God, by the way. We're talking to
Yeah.
God.
Yeah, God, do you have any input? He's like, I'm absent in this conversation.
Just like
Yeah.
in everything else.
Yeah.
He's like, I haven't commented in 2,000 years. What makes you think
He's
we'll
like,
comment
let
now?
me say something real quick.
Yeah, let me say some shit. God drops his mixtape, Bible 2.
New Testament, yeah.
New Testament.
That's
Yes.
that new.
So tell me about your re-recording today, if you can.
Oh,
as much as you
yeah.
can.
Switching gears. Yeah, today I was hanging out with my buddy Kirk. Kirk Lee is a dude that I met when I was literally 14, going back to 14 again. He was the first dude I ever screamed in front of, like publicly,
Nice.
like in a metal band since. We just did Metallica covers. But we were into heavier stuff at the time. We were into like Killswitch Engage and Trivium and stuff like that.
Oh,
And
nice.
so, yeah, so like he was like, dude, you have a raw talent. Let's do something with this. And unfortunately, it didn't go anywhere with that band. That was just like, when you're in high school, man, you go from band to band to band to band. That's just kind of how it is. Until you find a group of like-minded individuals who are like, we're going to create music together. It's going to be fun. So that didn't pan out, but I've known Kirk my entire life, and I consider him like a brother. So he reached out to me recently. He has an interesting idea. I can't say a lot about it, but he has a studio project where he wants
I totally get that. Don't say anything you can't.
Yeah, exactly. But he wants to do a song for each subgenre of metal. So, like, a black metal song, a death metal song, a metalcore song. And he's great at doing that. Like, he just has, like, a really good brain for organizing these songs and ideas. And so today we were working on a thrash metal song. And that was out of my comfort zone, man, but I loved all of it. It was so good.
Did you get really shrill?
Yeah. Oh, and it's hateful too. It's actually I'll say the lyrics are very topical. What's going on right now?
I am so glad to hear you like recording stuff and like doing stuff because I'm actually a really big fan of yours,
dude. I know. For those that you don't know, I was in a band called Bugan, and Alex was there from day one. He came to a show where everything fell apart, and we didn't think we were going to play that day. So we had backing tracks, and they didn't work. And we still played. And I was like, "Fuck it, we'll do it live."
We'll do it live.
And that's what we were saying. And you were there, and I had met you and your boss that day.
Yeah, Devin was there.
Yeah, it was cool.
I met you at the end.
That's right. We played the end that day. It was like a weird. It was a weird showcase of a bunch of different styles of bands.
Because it was my friend. It was my friend's band. Either was before or after you guys. I can't remember.
I don't remember. It was a long time. There was like 10 bands in that bill.
Yeah.
It was a lot. Yeah.
Weird little shows at the end, man. I tell you what.
Yeah. Great venue. I hope it's still around.
Great people at those weird little fucking shows at the end.
It's the best though.
Yeah.
The best. I love playing there. Yeah, good times, man. Yeah, and then you've come to several of my shows. You came to some at Rocket Town, and you came to the last one for sure. He came to the last one. God was at my last show.
God? Yeah.
Yeah.
God graced your show.
Yeah, dude, he was there. Holy Spirit beamed in. Boom. It was like, I approve.
That's right. That was Prophet Nathan and Old Man Oblivion after that, wasn't it?
Edge of Reality headlined. That was their
Edge of Reality?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm thinking of a different night then.
Yeah, it was Edge of Reality, Old Man Oblivion, Us. It was just a 3-piece show. It was awesome.
Yeah. I'm getting...
All good friends. I like everybody in those bands.
Yeah, everyone did really good that night.
Yeah, it was awesome. Dude, Edge of Reality's drummer now drums for Yugen.
Really?
Brandon Center, yeah.
Right
it was
on.
Great.
Cool, man.
It's pretty sweet.
I can't wait to be in a pit.
I can't wait to see live music, period. Even if it's like a chick doing Michelle Branch covers. I'm pumped. I want to see it. I want to see it. Like, I'm excited.
Yeah. It's been too long.
Yeah, I miss it dearly, man. If it wasn't for my friends keeping me sane just in our practice units and bedroom rehearsals, I'd be going nuts.
I'm sure stuff will open back up here pretty soon.
Have you guys seen the drive-in stuff they're doing? Like, they've done with electronic music, where people are in cars and there's like DJs and they're like, everybody honk their horns at the same time. It's nuts. It's cool, though. I will say bands are adapting really well to the streaming culture, and they're doing cool things like Code Orange. Did you see their stream? Mm-hmm. They played in an empty venue, and it was even Popular Science did an article on it, which I thought was crazy. But they did their like visuals that they were going to play live on like high def video, like alongside the screens and stuff that they were playing. They overlaid it of them playing live, and they would cut to different multicam. So that was really cool.
Nice. It
It was like unprecedented. It's pretty cool, and it was like a 14-song set that they streamed.
Right on, man.
So it was like being there, minus the sweatiness and the beer and the loss of hearing. Yeah. Which that's the good stuff. That's the substance of live shows.
That's so innovative, like to just do a show anyway.
Yeah.
Just stream it.
Yeah, Fable Cry's been doing some streaming events too.
Oh, really?
I'm not sure if you caught it.
Actually, I saw Zach posted something. I didn't. I was at work. I didn't get a chance to watch it.
I love that band.
Are they doing like music stuff?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like it's him. I forget his girlfriend's name. Mallory or Melody. I always mix their names up. Yeah. And then Joe as well. I think they've done 2 streams so far. They might have done more, but I've only seen 2 so far.
Nice. Yeah, I remember seeing they posted stuff. I didn't get a chance to watch it though.
Mm-hmm. That's cool that they're staying active. Those guys are so talented.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's really cool.
But Joe also does.
Twitch.
She has a Twitch account. Yeah, she plays violin and takes requests.
Oh, that's cool.
She does it pretty often too.
Mm-hmm.
I just like to see musicians staying active during these times. It's good.
Yeah. for sure. Because it'd be easy to just not do anything.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's one of those things too, where it's like something like this happens, and then it's like, are you a procrastinator or are you stir crazy? It's one of the two.
Yeah,
You're going to
for
be
sure.
one of those two things. You're either going to love all the free time you've got, or you're going to be going insane.
Right. Absolutely. But here's the thing, like there's different types of musicians. There's definitely people that prefer the studio atmosphere. So they're like thriving during these times. But there's like punk bands that thrive on playing live in front of an audience and getting a message across.
The energy.
And they're the ones that are suffering. Because the dude, there's just the energy takes a downfall immediately. Just like, what? It's an abrupt halt. And
Some-
they're just like, ugh.
Yeah, like that's cool that like Code Orange is doing that, but I can't imagine that you could do that with anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that wouldn't work for all genres, of course.
Like certain energies, you have to be there in it.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh my god, I saw Rings of Saturn at the end with Lorna Shore.
Oh man, that sounds insane. I like both of those bands.
Dude, at the end, it was insane.
Punishing, huh?
It was brutal. Yeah. The end had like so many memories at the end. It's such a great
Great
place.
shows there, man. It's a
Yeah.
great venue. I went when Every Time I Die did back-to-back sets. Like they did like an early show, then a late show.
Whoa.
And I went to the late show, and there was people climbing on top of air conditioning units and stage diving. It was dumb. Like it was dumb. It was crazy. It was in the middle of summer too. It looked like a sauna in there.
I remember I was like 19 and I like just started going to shows and like getting into the scene, and I saw a band called New Wave Rebellion
Are they local?
at the end. They're local.
Okay.
At the end, and they had a like a canvas with like, I forget what you call it, but like the thing that holds the canvas.
Easel?
Like yeah. And someone was like painting a picture like live, like while the set
love
was going, and then they like I think they either sold it or gave away the painting at the
That's
end of
awesome.
at the set. But I remember there was like, it's the only time I've ever seen anything like that at the end. But there was like an actual fight that broke out, and it like you know the end. So like here's a stage.
Yeah.
It started here and went out the door, like.
It's usually how it goes. Really, just take
Yeah.
this outside.
Yeah, and then there was this like a bunch of people like in a circle. Everyone went outside after the set and they, around these two guys, and they were just like going at it. And yeah, it's crazy.
You're like, I'm 19. This is insane.
It was a New Wave Rebellion too. They're not even like, it's not what you that kind of music.
Right. Hey man, different strokes, different folks.
I actually had a friend that went to a Little Dicky show and said it was so ridiculously try hard, like everyone like throwing hands, and he's like, "What the fuck is this? This is Little Dicky."
This is like parody rap.
Yeah.
This is like.
Well, what the fuck are you guys doing? Yeah,
Have you seen his show, Dave?
yeah, I saw a little
It's
bit of it.
phenomenal.
It's
so
yeah.
good.
It's one of the best skit shows I've seen.
It's amazing. I love every bit of it, man.
I
He's
haven't
talented.
seen much. I've just seen little snips of it.
Oh
but-
man, it's so good. I love it.
Did you see Duncan Trussell's got a thing on Netflix?
Midnight Gospel.
Yeah,
Love it too, man. It's good
So
stuff.
Yeah, it is.
He that show blew my mind because like I'm a huge fan of animation in general.
Mhm.
So like I'm glued in because I love Pendleton Ward. I'm a huge Adventure Time guy.
Yeah.
So that's like my show. But I watched that, but then the podcast that's going on is so serious, and you're like, this is like blowing my mind spiritually and metaphysically. So you have to go back and watch the animation. Like I've watched each episode at least twice now, trying to get the message. But
Yeah.
dude, there's so many good points taken from each episode. It's
Yeah.
great.
My favorite one is the one he did with Damien Eccles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
West Memphis 3. Yeah, that guy, insane, man. The guy was on death row for so long.
Okay, so I was just watching Midnight Gospel, and I saw like it did a little open thing, and it said with Damien Eccles. And I had to rewind it. I was like, "Are you serious?
Yeah.
Holy shit!"
Yeah, it's insane. It's good.
And that was like so good. Like that one particularly like really got me. I haven't finished it yet. I've only seen the first 4, I think.
Yeah, he talks about high magic and his
Mhm.
belief in high magic and stuff, and he equates it to his time being in prison. He said after a while he didn't feel like he was in prison because he felt like he got to escape,
Mhm.
in a different way. It's really interesting, man, just to hear somebody that's been on death row,
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just their perspective on things, and their perspective on life has totally changed than somebody that's just been free their entire life.
Yeah.
To come and go as you please. I
He
don't
gets like the coolest guests on.
know. He does.
It's crazy.
And what's funny is I've never seen him at Zanies. I've worked there for 6 years, and I've never seen him come through. So now I'm like, please.
Oh my
go
God.
Duncan Trussell, get him here. We're gonna sell
Yeah.
it out.
Dude, you gotta like hit me up if he does.
Yeah, I
gotta
will.
know.
I will. It'll be great, man. He's funny.
So that's funny. We could actually segue in. Like, do you have any ghost stories?
Ghost stories?
Yeah.
I do, man. I do believe in ghosts first and foremost. So yeah, I definitely have a ghost story.
Yeah. Tell me about what supernatural experiences you've had.
Okay, when I was about 7 or 8 years old, I grew up in Smyrna when it was like Texaco and nothing else. It was like a dirt road in Walmart. And Nissan, of course. Nissan was there. But there was a creek behind my house that I used to play in as a kid. So me and my buddies would go back there and do typical, not quite teenage boy stuff. We'd take pocket knives and carve stuff into trees and try to build tree forts and stuff. But there was a barbed wire fence back there, like separates the creek from one property to another. And there was actually a farm back there that had cows and stuff that roamed through. And so we would just sneak back into the cow area because there was cooler trees and all kinds of stuff back there. So we were on one side of the creek, and my dog had a Cocker Spaniel at the time named Montana, and we never put him on a leash. That dog just followed me everywhere. And so he went down to the creek. I was making sure he was okay. And so I went back there. My buddy Zach came up behind me. It was just us two and the dog. And he goes, dude, do you see that creepy old man over there? And I was like, what are you talking about? And then as soon as he said that, I look up on the other side of the creek. There is a guy just like standing at a tree, and he has a low hat pulled down super low where I couldn't see his eyes, and he's just staring right at me. And I didn't see eyes, but he was staring right at me. That was the feeling that I got. And I was like, okay. And his whole getup was kind of older. I'm not going to say super old, but it was like Civil War 1860s-esque era looking. It was very strange, very dated. He was wearing like a pea coat type thing, and then like just like brown slacks. It was super weird. And then he had on a hat that just went over his eyes. And I'm like, this is very creepy. And I immediately got cold chills. And it was the middle of summertime. And immediately I'm just freezing. And I'm like, we got to get the hell out of here. And he goes, yeah. Like we just had the same realization at the same time. So we booked it. I'm like carrying my Cocker Spaniel through the barbed wire fence to get back out of there. And I didn't go back there anymore because of that. It freaked me out. Like it was insane. And that's like the only full like fledged ghost I've ever seen. Was it an actual farmer that just hadn't gone, just went to Goodwill that day?
He was cosplaying?
Yeah, he was cosplaying a Civil War soldier, possibly. But it was enough to scare the fuck out of me, and I never went on his property again. So
okay.
Either way, ghost or no ghost, you'd be the judge. Who knows?
Yeah. Okay, so...
What about you, man?
Whew.
Let's hear it.
I'm trying to think where to even, like, unpack that.
Any spiritual experience or anything that like makes you go, okay, I'm a believer.
Well, I feel like I have to tell a little bit of a story first. Like,
okay,
I told you a little bit about my background earlier.
Yeah.
I was homeschooled, and I was also in a cult till I was 18.
Mm-hmm.
And I was my parents are actually really cool despite all of that. My parents are awesome. But
good to know.
Yeah, but I was really sheltered. Like I didn't know much of anything about the world, really.
Mm-hmm.
And when I got out, and like I moved out of my parents' house and like got out on my own, kind of like I got really into the occult. But it was one of those like hot topic, like aesthetic kind of faux like witchcraft things. Mm-hmm. Like where it's like I think it's cool. I don't really believe in it. Like, because I just come out of the religion, so I was borderline atheist. Like, I didn't believe in anything, really. But I was also trying to, in my own journey, try to show myself if there is something out there.
Sure. That makes sense.
So, I got really into, like, just trying to, like, manifest something so I could, like, see if anything's real.
So you're, like, vulnerable in a sense.
Yeah. That was a really experimental, really vulnerable time for me. Yeah, for sure. And I did for maybe like a year or two, like no success, but I like kept at it. Like I got into like tarot cards, and that's probably about as deep as I'd gotten into it at that point. And what happened was actually me and his sister we bought a Ouija board, and
actually it was an invocation.
Right, yeah, that's...
So what's the difference? Sorry, I'm not quite...
Actually, you know what? I've actually got two, so I can just show you.
Oh, right on. Well, I know that's a Ouija board for a fact.
Yeah, so Ouija board is supposed to be for contacting,
Okay.
roughly contacting the other side. Invocation is basically bringing it into yourself or bringing whatever
that
kind
sounds
of
heavy.
entity
Yeah.
into the board itself.
Okay.
So it's a much more direct.
It's more like a
you're
summoning
pulling
tool?
it down.
Yeah. Okay. Whoa.
So this is hers actually, but this is what you call an invoking board, and
I'll show anybody watching. I'm sure they've seen this before. Ouija.
Spoopy.
Yeah.
and so the way I like to think about it is.
Man, this does look heavy. So.
Yeah, so you can like that one. The letters are splayed out sort of like a rainbow, and it's a rectangle.
Right.
And then the planchet, I don't know where the planchet's at for that.
But I know
But
what they look like.
you know
It's
what they
got-
look like.
Yeah, it's got a point to it, and it's
Yeah.
got a
So
enough space for 3
I did-
4 people.
You want me to get it? I have it.
the planchet. You don't have to. You can get it if you want to.
QA has some tags down there.
Yeah.
I wanna make it.
Sleeping kittens.
What's this saying? Oh yeah, I didn't know it when I bought this. Like I didn't know the difference between these
Okay.
two things. Which really, people should start taking these things more seriously because it's important to know the difference.
Absolutely.
So
Well,
like
most people who use this treat it like a gimmick and
They think
aren't
it's a
really
game.
doing it seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
sell this at Toys R Us.
Yeah.
No, literally, they do.
No, I know.
I'll show this one to the camera too. So
Yeah,
you
that
see what I'm
one's-
talking about.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like tilted
You
that
probably
way.
turned the light a little more in. I probably turned it a little too far.
There you
There we
go.
go.
Yeah.
I see it.
Circular,
Yeah.
like a alphabet pizza.
Oh, and here's the planchet for
That should be the real name for it.
Alphabet Pizza. That's his name. So we kind of just bought it for shits and giggles. Like I don't think
Okay.
we really even believed it when we bought it, and we were under the influence of LSD to sort of preface
The
this.
story already
Next
got
part.
picked up a notch.
Yeah, like I feel like that's an important note though because
Sure.
the story gets really weird. And then I'm trying to think about how to word this. Like, okay, we both had our hands on it. And like, you know, when it starts moving around, especially the first time you've done something like that, your immediate instinct is that the other person is moving it. Like there's a skeptical side of you that is like, well, that doesn't make sense. Someone else has to be moving it.
Sure.
So, you know, especially if you have multiple people in the room, like 3 or 4, you're like, oh, anyone can be moving it. So that's actually sort of the entire point of a Ouija board, because this is just a piece of cardboard. This isn't really anything. It's all done in your mind. But what's cool about a Ouija board is it's sort of training wheels, because you can operate under the assumption that the other person is doing it to sort of get to a point where you're comfortable believing it. Does that make sense?
It does. Absolutely. I've played, to be fair, I have
Okay.
used a Ouija board with 4 other
Okay.
people before.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So I get what you're saying, but that's a great term that it's training wheels for something greater.
Yeah.
So the invocation board is what you guys were using the night of.
Right. And like I've had a friend, like I have a friend that is really into chaos magic, and he's never in his life used a board. He just channels without a board. And that's a totally valid way to do it. It's just, this is something concrete for you to focus
Right.
your mind on. So, yeah, so it was moving around, and it was trying to tell us that she was pregnant, and that just wasn't possible. We're like, that's not possible. And then it was like really pushing us, like, you need to conceive a child.
Whoa.
And I got this bad vibe from that, because I'm like, why? Like, why? Like, what do you want out of that?
Mhm.
Like, I kind of like got the feeling that it wanted to be inside the child, like
That's crazy.
to be the
Yeah.
child.
It's gonna
'Cause
be
it kept
the
calling us-
Antichrist.
Yeah, I was thinking Damien and the Omen immediately. Yeah.
They call us mom and dad too. So,
That's creepy. Yeah.
and after a little while, it sort of like settled near the middle somewhere, and I felt, now this is the difference between an evoking board and an invoking board, and it has to do with the shapes of it.
Mhm.
That is the planchet's sort of like a triangle, right? It's actually designed after a wishbone, but
Wow.
but if you think about like if you're talking to someone on the other end of this, like I'm on this end and you're on that end, you can't really squeeze through here. It's more like a window. Like I can talk to you through a screen door, but you're not in the same space as me. There's sort of something blocking you from getting through that. Whereas a circle is you're in the space with this thing. So as long as you're in a circle with it, it's with you in that circle. You can think of it like a window versus a door, you know? And I felt, after a while, I felt sort of like, it felt like a string, like around my finger. And I was like, that's weird. But I sort of just kept, like, just was observing it, like seeing what happened. And it eventually like moved up my hand and it was like moving my fingers. And I noticed it was doing like physical therapy. Like if you were in an accident, what your physical therapist would have you do, sort of exercises so you can get allocated with a muscle. It felt to me like he didn't know how to use a muscle and he was trying to learn how to use it. So, and what's crazy is the same thing was happening to her. So we were both experiencing this, and it creeps up my arm and like into my shoulder, and it's like rotating my shoulder, and I'm kind of freaking out, but you also have to remember I'm on acid, so I'm in like a trance, sort of. I'm not even really thinking about what's happening to me at this time. And then I realize she's in an even deeper trance than I am, because I'm like, I wiggle my toes and I'm like, okay, I'm still in control here. Or if I like try to stop my arm, I can stop it.
Right.
I'm in control. But I was like, hey, give me some kind of indication that you are in control of your actions right now. Like wiggle your toes, give me something. And she just looked at me with this deadpan expression, and tears started coming down her face.
That's terrifying, yeah.
And I fucking panicked. Like, I freaked out. So I grabbed her hand, and I pushed it to goodbye. And I grabbed her arm and, like, pulled her out of the room, because I was freaking out. And as I'm leaving the room, I feel sort of a tugging on me backwards. Like, not strong enough that I can't fight it, but a noticeable tugging, like, against me. So that freaks me out even more. So I leave the whole house. I'm at the fucking end of the driveway. We're both at the end of the driveway in our underwear in the middle at like midnight, looking like crazy people.
Yeah.
And we at the end of the driveway, she's like, "What's going on? What are we doing at the end of the driveway?" I'm like, "You don't remember what just happened?" And she's like, "A little bit, but like, I don't remember why you dragged me out here." And I'm like, because I'm tripping balls and I'm super paranoid at the time, I'm like, is that really her?
Oh no.
Is that really her that I'm talking to? Or like...
That's terrifying.
And then he murdered her.
Yeah, that's the end of that story. Anyway.
Your sister?
Yeah.
Oh wow, that's crazy. So how long have you guys known each other?
We actually were roommates before, like, 5 years ago?
Give or take, something like that.
Yeah.
Okay, right on.
Yeah, I've known him a long time. We were both Jehovah's Witnesses. growing up.
Oh, okay. That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Both non-practicing, I take it now.
Yeah.
Am I gonna, if I leave with the Bible, I've got one at home, guys.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. So.
I didn't prep this before you got here, but I'm actually just going to preach to you all day.
Yeah.
And
Let me tell you about
You got me. I got a beer in my hand. I'll listen. It's cool.
that's our new technique. Instead of
it's
coming
like,
to your house,
Come be on this
We bring
podcast,
our
and here's a beer. Now we're going to tell you about a religion. It's just like
Mm-hmm.
really
Yeah.
packaged weird, but I respect. I like it.
you're like, damn, the presentation. I might as well stick
Yeah.
around.
This beats PowerPoints, man. You know what I'm saying? This is awesome.
It does feel kind of culty with these fucking Ouija
Exactly.
boards out, doesn't it? It's like, Jesus Christ.
And you're like, this is what you don't do, but if you got this Bible, you'll never have to worry about any of this. Yeah.
What?
Sorry, guys. I'm not trying to demean the
Oh, yeah.
story.
You Lord him.
Yeah, we just learned you here. You're a sacrifice.
Yeah, it's all right.
You're an
man.
offering.
I've lived 30 years. That's fine.
Too long already.
I'll probably die at 60 anyways. What am I missing out on?
That's pretty much the end of that story. She finally convinced me to calm down, and because I was freaking out, and she's like, everything's fine now. That was weird, but everything's fine now. Come back inside. And that was the end of that. We didn't fuck with that for a while.
I feel that.
We did fuck with that afterwards, like at a certain point, but after a while, you know?
Sure.
and I've only had good experiences with it, except one other time since then.
So you
But
had one negative experience?
one negative experience besides that one.
One not on LSD? It's still negative.
No, that one was on acid too. But I've played around with it quite a lot at this point. That was about 5 years ago.
Okay.
So, wait, no,
Probably a little less.
3 years ago, something like that. But I mean, I've done a lot of different evocations and invocations at this point, and I've mostly met good spirits. The thing is, you just, especially with something like this, whereas that's a lot more safe, because there's only a certain degree they can do to you with an evocation board, because they can basically scare you. That's about it.
Yeah.
There's sort of a barrier.
Well, I mean, as far as we know.
As far as we know,
Right.
I'm not an expert on the
I
subject.
know a lot of spirits are naturally tricksters too. They'll lead you to believe something. That's what at least my takeaway from what I have done with this. I have my buddies, one of my best friends actually. His wife is very much into tarot cards and does like full moon spells and stuff like that. So she's very in tune to that stuff. So like I always love getting her perspective and always get her to do tarot readings for me. I won't let anybody else do it, but she does some for me, and they're always like ridiculously spot on. Like she has good energy all around. So I wouldn't say like I full-heartedly believe in that stuff, but there is something there.
Mm-hmm.
There's enough evidence for me to go, okay, that's legit, that's practice. So I respect that a lot, man. I am myself an agnostic, so I'm like open to a lot of things. I think a lot of religions are beautiful.
I think agnosticism is really the only true outlook on the world, because who is anyone to claim they know what the universe is?
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah.
The only plausible answer to looking at reality is I don't fucking know.
Yeah.
I have no fucking clue,
Yeah.
and no one does. Some people pretend they know what's going on.
People think that because they went through puberty that they know things. I'm like, you're still you're like spiritually you're an infant.
Yeah,
In the whole age of the cosmos, man, you're nothing. You're a speck of dust.
that's true.
Yeah.
Even less.
Yeah, right.
So I went on my story rant for a while. Do you have any good ones?
For me, I haven't had anything too concrete. I've had a lot of weird kind of subtleties happen to me, which could be marked off as some sort of possibly spiritual experience, possibly glitch in the matrix kind of thing. So for one, this necklace is probably the most concrete thing that's happened to me personally. It's made in Cairo.
Oh yeah, you told me about
wow.
that.
Yeah. So it's kind of weird. There's a couple incidents happened with this. Both of them where my pendant has gone missing and then reappeared on me. So
That's crazy.
so one time, my necklace was gone entirely off my neck. I had left it in the bathroom. That's the only place I ever take it off is when I take a shower.
Makes sense.
I leave it off there. But then when I went back the next morning, it was gone. And after a couple days, I searched my couch just out of like desperation, like where's my necklace?
Mhm.
And I find it under my couch, but the pendant and the necklace are separated from one another. They're both next to each other, and my clasp is still together.
That's crazy.
So I'm like,
Yeah.
why is this unhooked, but it's together still? It doesn't make any sense how it would have gotten loose. So I just brushed it off. And then maybe a month or two later, I was at FedEx doing another install, and I have this habit of kind of like twiddling my necklace in between my hands and kind of holding it. And then as I just grabbed it out of my shirt and then lightly held it in my hand, all of a sudden it was loose from my necklace. And it was just the pendant I was holding. And I was like, what the hell? And I checked my clasp. My clasp is still fully on there. So I'm like, there's no way my pendant would have fallen off
Right.
if it were not. And then I passed it over my clasp several times to see if there's a way for it to slip
Yeah, just
through.
checking it.
And there's no way for it to do that. So I don't know what to make of that, but it's
Have you ever been to Cairo?
interesting. I haven't. I would love to. I'm extremely interested
I think I would
in
go at this point.
ancient architecture.
Yeah.
Most ancient civilizations, the megalithic architecture, is
Kind of
just
sounds like a sign, doesn't
mind
it?
blowing.
Yeah, I would say so. If that was me in your shoes, I would go.
Yeah, especially Cairo. The Great Pyramids is one of the biggest things that pulls to me.
Yeah.
You know, cradle of civilization,
Absolutely.
ancient Sumer, all around that area.
What do the hieroglyphics mean, if you want me asking on the pendant?
It was this was from my ex. It actually supposedly just means "I love you" in hieroglyphics, but
Have you researched it, or I know it's kind of hard
I
to
did.
do.
I did research it.
Does it mean like
It actually means
cat,
die.
cat water bowl?
There's a couple. You know, it's give or take. These same symbols seem to show up when I looked at it, and so
Okay, good.
it seems to be indicative of that at the very least. But yeah, that is a thing. Like you'll see
Yeah.
Japanese people wearing a shirt that's in English, and it just says some like
Ridiculous. I love it, man.
Random
I
ass
love the
phrase or
lost in
something.
translation sense
Yeah.
of like it's aesthetic, but it's funny because it's not
Yeah.
right.
Or like, you know, Americans getting
Kanji
Japanese, you know,
Yeah.
kanji tattooed on their arm, and it just means something
Yeah.
totally different.
Water.
means cheese
Yeah.
whiz. Yeah.
Dude, that's so deep.
From the supernatural experiences, what I can say that's the most heavy is much of my family and a lot of my friends that I've had tell me stories that are very concrete. And of course, I take it with a grain of salt, but some of them I know aren't ones to confabulate stories just for attention.
Sure.
Like they are, you know, they don't like talking about these kind of spiritual experiences. You know, they only do it, you know, for the sake of whatever. It's not for attention by any means. The most extreme one that kind of makes me think that there's really something there, and I don't see, because it's corroborated by several family members. It's not like it's just one person's experience either. Is my grandfather and my grandmother were, for whatever reason, seems to be whatever kind of spirits, entities, aliens, whatever the fuck it is, seem to be especially hostile towards them.
Oh.
So, you know, there are several different very negative experiences, but the worst one that was corroborated by several of my family members was my grandfather being choked, suspended on the ceiling, which is something you see from some fucking, Hollywood movie or something. But yeah, so that one's pretty
It's
intense.
very intense. Yeah.
Yeah.
So when I hear stories like that, I don't have any reason to think that's not true. Like, I don't know your granddad, but he seems like he wouldn't make that up.
Yeah.
But like at my, I know we've talked about this a lot before, but like, having sought out demons and ghosts and having gotten some results with it, I'm not claiming I know what's possible and what's not, but in my own mind, I have sort of things I do not think are possible and things I do. And maybe I'm completely wrong. Who the fuck am I?
But
Right.
I mean, to be fair, it's still very early on, and your experience is really limited. And maybe just
Maybe something will happen and I'll completely change my mind on that. Yeah.
yeah, but just for the seeking out of demons and saying like, "Here I am, show me your presence," that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be like, "Okay, let's go humor
Right.
this guy over here." Like they might have some other.
It's also how receptive you are mentally at that moment. too.
Yeah.
It's like you can't. It's like
Well,
calling a number and nobody picking up.
What I was going to say, because I've, in a later experience, not the one I told you guys about, I've had it to the point where it was full body possession, and I was walking around the room, and that same person was there, and the same things were happening to her. And that's happened, and that was fucking insane. But I'm not entirely convinced that spirits can interact with the world on their own without a physical body, such as levitation or like fire or what have you. Sort of like what we hear, like poltergeists, like moving things around.
Sure.
And I've heard tons of stories about it, and I've even seen some sort of what some might consider proof of it. And I'm not saying that that's impossible. I just don't believe that it is, in my experience.
I can see that.
So on your probability scale, where would you put the possibility of demonic interaction outside of physical human body?
Well, what's the scale? Give me like a least believable
0
thing.
to 100 percentage wise
The percent.
of fully believing versus
Yeah, like
definitely does
possibilities.
not.
Complicated question. I feel like I don't know. I mean, it may be true. I'm not saying that that's not possible.
No, I mean, I'm not, it doesn't have to be a perfectly precise number. I'm just asking kind of like a general range of where the probability, because you say that
Unlikely.
you don't think that it would, so it would be like, that could be anything after 51% of unlikelihood.
I don't think I have a good answer for you, to be honest. Like, I don't have it locked down like
so you
that.
think just more unlikely than likely?
Yeah.
Okay.
In the 49%.
Okay.
So you're saying that you have to have a vessel for a demonic
I believe
presence.
so.
Okay.
What
And
leads you to believe that?
The other reason I believe that is because every time, without exception, that I have been possessed or have channeled a spirit and had it come into me, it has been ecstatic to be in a body because it's not something that it's usually doing. It's so happy to be like, it's like, holy shit, I can feel. It's so like lusting for life. And if they could interact with the world without a body, why would they be so enthusiastic about it?
Well, you got to think that the way you perceive in your senses might be something desirable to whatever kind of spirit this is, to be able to feel the way a human feels and going through their emotions, interfacing with the reality that we
Okay.
have. And maybe they're just, out, behind the veil, just like fucking with shit, and it doesn't give them any pleasure.
Okay, so you're
in the
saying
same way that it would.
You're saying that
subscribe to that. Yeah, that makes sense.
you're saying he could lift the water bottle, but he'd rather like hold a water bottle.
And
It
feel
could
it,
feel it.
yeah, through
Okay.
your skin. Yeah.
Okay, that I could see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying, man, like, dude, I would love to be proven wrong about that shit. Like, turns out poltergeists are real and like there's levitating furniture. I would love to like eat my words on that and that be true. I just, it might be, maybe.
It seems from everything I've heard, and of course, I take this with a grain of salt as well, as much as I can with anything. I try to stay as agnostic as I can. But it seems to be that if it is true that whatever kind of spirits or what have you that they are have varying levels of power that they're able to interact with on this world, and that possibly even cooperating with other demons or whatever they are could increase their level of interfacing with this reality as well. So it could be that just some aren't able to as much as others, or I'm not sure. Maybe there has to be some sort of local demon to that area when you're calling it, because it seems that they kind of come to you at random whenever you're channeling them, unless maybe if you have a specific name that
that's
you're calling
why,
or something.
That's the point of a sigil is, I actually heard someone explain it really well, where if you have a sigil, you could think about that as like an IP address or like a URL. Like you just punch in the URL and that gets you that result. So if you have a sigil which represents the spirit you're trying to contact, that's a direct link to that thing. But the problem with that is it has to mean that to you because it's all about your mind. So if that sigil doesn't mean that thing to you, then it doesn't work. So I think it's better to make a personalized one, like one that you make yourself. And I don't know. But that's sort of the whole point of sigils, is to contact a specific thing rather than just sort of casting your net out and getting something, or at least sigils pertaining to names and like demons and stuff.
I can see that. Yeah, sigils are supposed to be very personal.
Yeah.
Not to flip the script, but what he was saying actually, I don't want to say spooked or scared me, but it kind of like, it made me think. So, and again, I hate to flip the script, but have you guys ever
you're
done
good,
DMT? I'm Joe Rogan
Yes.
right now. Hi.
Oh man, would I love to talk to you about DMT?
I was going to say, let's
yeah.
talk about it. I've had an experience. I've only done it technically 1.5 times. One did not take, but one for sure
You had
took, and I'll remember every second of it, like for the rest of my life, because it's very much like you're not here. You know what I'm saying? This physical world gone. Like, and I'm not a huge drug
I wouldn't know
user.
what you meant if I hadn't experienced it.
Oh,
But because I've been there, I know exactly what you mean.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's in the physical realm gone. Like you're not here. But
Complete ego death.
yes, well, I didn't experience that. That is like, that's the part I couldn't get past. So I was definitely in that realm. I couldn't get past that. But you do arrive at a place. So the proverbial tunnel of light, like, near-death experience, what you see, I saw that. And you see just endless fractals of colors and shapes. and affinity, and just pouring out, making things, creating things. It's too much to take in. And all you are is literally just, you feel like you're just a floating set of eyes because you don't have a physical body. You try to look for it, it's not there. You're just floating.
This
energy.
is so funny how similar it is to my experience.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. There's enough evidence that some of this stuff is related. Anyways, long story short, I'm floating towards this thing until finally I didn't quite get to the light. I deviated until something like the shapes and the colors, like all the fractals started to form things, and they formed creatures. And they were like, "Hey, we're stoked that you're here. Come on!" And I started laughing because they looked ridiculous. And I don't know if you've heard, like, I mean, there's tons of evidence. People call them machine elves, and like Terrence McKenna has.
I was just about to say, I'm
Terrence
a big
McKenna, yeah,
fan.
and like he talks about them all the time. But I think they're interpreted by different people as different entities or different things.
Sure.
And we were just talking about demons; they can be referred to that. I think a lot of these things have different, like, origins, but they're all the same thing. Kind of like religion, but we won't get into that right now. But anyways, so I saw these things. They were stoked to see me, and they were like, "Hey, you're not, you're here. That's cool. Let's teach you some things." And I was like, "Cool." But then I started focusing on my breathing and back in my natural body. I was like, it's kind of like how I would describe it. It's like hearing a sound in like a really reverby hallway or like a subway tunnel or something really far away. And that was my breathing at the time. And I was like, something about that doesn't seem right. And they were like, "Don't think about that. That's not real." And that's kind of what they were trying to express to me. They're like, "That's not important. That's not real." And I was like, I kind of want to focus on that thing that's like way, way, way far away. And they're like, "Don't do that." And then I experienced what I can only describe as the most uncomfortable feeling in my life. It didn't hurt. It wasn't painful, but it felt like I was being sucked out of a vacuum. Like, and then I was pulled away from these creatures, and like they were just like, "No, come stay with us." And I was like, that's so weird. So I get pulled out of this vacuum, and next thing you know, I'm back in my body. And it, like you were talking about earlier, like the physical therapy thing, I can relate to that because I felt like Arnold Schwarzenegger, the Terminator, when he's looking at his hands and he's like,
What the fuck?
It took me like
Yeah.
3 minutes to like regain feeling and actually regain motor skills. And like my friends were there, and they were like, "How was it?" And I have one guy, he was a chemistry major. He actually extracted it, and so he was there. He was coaching me through all this. He's done it a multitude of times, and he's a cool guy. He's older than I am, but he was like, "Tell me about your experience." And he was like, "Yeah, dude." He's like, "You got to that point." And I was like, "I didn't get ego death because that terrified me, so I didn't experience."
You definitely
that per
blasted
se.
off because you went through the tunnel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, so what you were saying about, they were stoked to be in your body, that reminded me of that. So I was like, that's kind of similar because they do seem really eager to talk to not just you, just the people in general or another life form or spirit. Like when they encounter that, they're like, "Oh, what's up?" It's like seeing a long lost friend. They're like,
Yeah.
but whether it's, benevolent or whether it's, for good, you don't know. Like it's just kind of a shot in the dark.
Maybe those are human concepts.
And that's what I'm thinking, who knows? Like, as our
Maybe they just
morality
are.
is good and bad, like in our realm,
Yeah.
it's totally different elsewhere, If you believe in a universal good or a universal bad, I don't know. These are good conversations, though. Sorry, I didn't flip the script.
No,
I
dude.
apologize.
That's really interesting because, like, the first part of your experience really reminds me of mine, like things you were saying, and then, like, it hit a point where ours are completely different. Like, completely
And
different.
it always
things happen.
does. It starts out similar, and then, like, you're like, whoa, that didn't happen to me.
Yeah.
But I love that, though. I think that's a unique human experience.
Mhm.
Have you heard of DMT, the spirit molecule?
Yeah, I've watched that.
Yeah.
And
So
there's a book, too.
I really need to read the book. I've only looked into it a little bit, but there's such a stark similarity between every experience
Exactly.
that
Yeah.
the guy just quit doing his experiments at some point because he's like, "No, this is too spooky. It was like too much for me."
It is, but it's kind of intriguing at the same time because like you hear people in hospitals have near-death experiences, and like to a certain degree, they experience that, and there's nothing, and then you have the evil people in the world that capitalize on it and like sell books and write books.
Yeah.
I hate to say that, but that's just true. I'll put
No,
that
yeah.
out there. But yeah, like the total of light, the huge white light, like that's universal. I feel like that's a thing. Like, I don't know. I'll tell you this though, like maybe I did have a little bit of death anxiety before that. I don't now. Like the whole week after doing DMT, I felt great. Like
That's awesome,
my
dude.
serotonin levels were like it's crazy.
That's wow. Because all right, I gotta unpack mine now
Go for it, man.
because that's crazy. Okay, so how did you do it? Did you smoke it?
Yeah.
How did you smoke it out of?
It was just a pipe. Like, so the way they extracted it, he got bark from South America. and he did get in some very huge legal issues for this. I can't say his name, obviously, but so anyways, so he got the bark. As a natural chemist, he extracted it into a fine yellow powder. We sprinkled in it and just gently let it melt on top of some, THC, marijuana, whatever. And he smoked it, inhaled, boom, gone. And that was it. It was very safe. It was the safest thing.
Well, let me tell you what I did.
Oh, no.
We took a crack pipe, loaded that fucker up with crystals, and let them dissolve.
Oh, Lord.
And he let that because, I was trying to do a breakthrough. So
the FBI's going to break in your house, in 10 seconds.
Yeah.
This was many, many years ago with people that
this was in Salt Lake City.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't have any DMG, so I'm not worried about it. So yeah, I had him holding it for me because I was trying to take off. So he lit it, he held it up to my face, and I'm sitting on the bed, and he gets that thing completely white with smoke.
Mm-hmm.
And I pull it and I hold it as long as I can. He fills it up again, and I do that 3 or 4 times. And
I'm getting chills because I'm thinking about my experience.
Oh my god, you remember the smell of the mothmoths?
Yeah.
It's giving you anxiety.
Yeah, it's it almost smells like sulfur. It's a really sulfury.
When I smell that shit, when one of my friends takes DMT and I smell that, I get such anxiety because I had a bad trip.
Oh, okay, I gotcha. It's not necessary. Well, keep going. I'm sorry. We'll talk about it later.
You'll understand by the end of it. It's not really a bad trip. It was a painful trip.
Okay.
Okay, so yeah, I hit it 3 or 4 times, and he told me to lay back, and he lightly put his hand on me and pushed me back, and I it felt just in waves of me going back, hitting the pillow, and I'm laying there with my eyes closed, and I see this lime green, or no, it was was it green? I think it was yellow, a big yellow circle with a green. You know what a frog's eyeball looks like? It's sort of slanted. It's like that, but 2 of them, so a cross.
Oh, that's cool.
With little balls on the end of it, and then it sort of narrows out in the middle, and there's a ball at the other end. And I'm looking at this thing, and then I'm that's an eye. And when I do that, I see its pupil sort of dilate, and it's that's a person, and we see each other, and we collide. We run into each other. And that was the tunnel for me.
Okay.
And I black out. I go out and wake up in a field of grass. And there's a blue sky, but I don't remember any clouds or sun. It was just a blue sky and just the wind. I can feel the wind and hear the wind rustling and this grass. And it's very serene. And I look around and I don't have a body. I'm just there. And I hear this song in the distance, and it's I hear footsteps, and this old Asian woman walks up to where I'm at. I swear to God. And she's playing a mandolin or something.
That's awesome.
And she's singing in what I guess is Chinese. I don't know, but I understood what she was saying.
That's awesome.
And she sort of settles down in the grass near me with her legs crossed, and she's playing her instrument and singing the song. And I'm listening to her song, and she's singing about this single mom with 5 kids, and she's just out in a fucking rice field somewhere, and her crops are doing bad, and her kids are hungry. And it's real shit. And when she's telling me this, I'm there. And, I feel it. And it's so hard, being where those people are. And I'm this is too much for me. I can't handle this.
That's heavy.
And she pulls me back and starts singing this song about this old man. And he's got this wagon. He's pulling it into town. And he's got all his crops and different shit on there. He's going to take into town and sell. That's how he's going to make his money. And he's hustling. And it I could feel his back ache breaking, pulling this thing. And I'm this is too much. I cannot handle this. And I eventually realized the song is supposed to teach me that I have it really good.
Yeah.
That I am so fortunate to be alive and just
lesson,
at all.
Yeah.
But also to be in the position that I'm in. Just in a first world country with a roof over my head, like, I'm so lucky. And she's like, you take that for granted. And I'm like, okay, I get what you're trying to tell me now. And I get it. And she's like, I don't think you do. You're going to stay here, and I'm going to continue to drill this into you so you never forget.
Man, yeah, that's awesome.
And so that song went on, and like she showed me different passages, and I can't remember all of
I
them.
was going to say, yeah, that's really cool. But like, if you were to actually play notes, would you be able to like conjure it up? Is it that fresh in your memory, or no? Or is it just muddy?
No,
Okay,
it's muddy.
it's kind of like watching a TV like that's really staticky.
No, I can't really remember what it sounded like, to be honest with you.
Okay, mine was, you definitely got further than I did. But I've heard my buddy Eric that did this, that extracted it, has so many stories that are similar to that are so. It seems surreal, but he, like, when he tells them, like, you're there. You know what I'm saying? Kind
Yeah.
of like your story. Like, it seems unreal.
When I got out of that finally, because like by the time I'd left there, I was so ready to go. Like, I'd been wanting to go for a while. And when I got back, I opened my eyes, and my friend was like, welcome back. And I immediately started crying.
Okay.
Like, I just burst
Yeah.
into tears. And I was like, I'm never doing DMT again. And I did. I did do it.
I would kill to do it again because it's one of those things that it's terrifying, but it teaches you so much. And
Dude, yeah.
it's not a recreational drug.
No.
And I hate that it's a Schedule 1 drug because it's in everything. And I'm like, how do you outlaw something that's beyond natural?
Everybody
It's in your
told me.
brain.
Terrence McKenna famously said, we're all carrying.
That's a good impression. Yeah.
Yeah.
The owls, they bring you these gifts, and they say, do what we are doing.
Yeah, that's definitely his demeanor. What a great guy. What a gem.
Look at this, look at this.
Yeah.
I love that guy.
Beautifully goofy. I love that guy.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, man, I didn't go into depth in mine. The creatures that I could describe, if I had to describe them, they looked very monkey-esque,
Okay.
but like really geometric looking monkeys to my, they looked like, it was very cartoony at first, but then they started to gain like true form. And then they kind of settled, and I noticed there was a bunch of them. I was like, whoa. And then I started thinking about my breathing. I was like, oh no. So you definitely have to disconnect. And it sounds like you fully disconnected. I couldn't let go for some reason. So I also was listening to music too that may have ruined the experience.
Yeah. There was a song playing in the background. I wonder if that influenced.
It could have.
Yeah.
I remember the song that I listened to. It's an Irish post-rock band called God is an Astronaut. And the song is called Frozen Twilight. It's excellent.
I gotta hear that song
It's
after the
instrumental.
podcast.
I didn't want to listen to anything with lyrics. I wanted just purely
Yeah.
instrumental music.
I think they had, you know what? They had some like tantric sort of like
Maybe that's what it
tribe
was.
shit.
And maybe that, but that's cool because maybe that puts you in that place.
Mm-hmm.
Because DMT is released when you dream. So it's definitely the dreaming chemical it's released when you sleep, when you go to REM. That is what makes your, as Pete Holmes.
On dreaming.
Yeah.
Have you ever lucid dreamed?
Yeah, I definitely have. The funny thing about my lucid dreams is like I don't change that much. I want the dream to write out as it is, and so it's kind of like me and the dream still meet
Okay.
each other. So even if the dream is like very mediocre and shitty, I'm not like, I'm Neo, I'm gonna go fly through the clouds right now. I ride with it and just suffer in my dreams, and I'm like, why do I do this to
Why?
myself? Because I know I'm dreaming, and I'm like,
Masochist.
yeah, I am. Like, and I'll put myself in these stupid situations. But it's because I'm so intrigued by it that I'm like, I want to see how this plays out.
What's your birthday?
It's December 18th,
What sign is that?
Sagittarius. It's a week before Christmas. I got shafted. Thanks, Jesus.
Fuck you, Jesus. It sounds like you lucid dream a lot then.
I wouldn't say a lot because, I mean, obviously you don't remember a lot of your dreams.
Right,
I don't
yeah.
keep a dream journal. I should, but it's a lot of effort and work, and you got to practice it.
Speaking of dream journals, I've only lucid dreamed once, and it's because I was
Oh.
keeping a dream journal.
See, and yeah, you can. It's a muscle. You can
Mhm.
build it up and flex it. Yeah.
It was because I was trying to lucid dream.
Yeah, you can. There's another tip. I don't know if you've ever heard this. The whole inception thing with having a token. You don't need a token. In your dreams, if you ever look down at your hands, if you think about looking at your hands, if you have no lines in your palm, if your palm is completely blank, you're lucid dreaming. And you, from that moment, if you look at your palms and you don't have any palm lines, you can lucid dream from that moment. It's pretty interesting. Yeah. I've been taught that by my buddy Jake, who plays Yugen, actually.
Nice.
And he lucid dreams all the time. And naturally, I love sleeping, man. I don't get enough sleep. So
Sleep's great.
sleep is amazing. It's cat rules.
I know. He's so good. He's so fuzzy.
Pretty crazy to
Look
think.
at his.
We spend about a third of our lives sleeping, actually.
Yeah, and like, I don't know. It's just kind of like, I don't know. Sleep is so necessary not only for rest, but it's like I think your mind needs to go through lessons. It needs to go through REMs.
Yeah, for sure.
You guys ever have, this is strange while on the conversation of dreams, do you guys ever have dreams about people and you know it's a person, but their face is not
Dude.
there?
I was
How-
actually talking about this on the podcast last week.
It's very strange. You see a person, you're like, I know their energy, I can feel this person, but their face is like nothing. It's like Pink Floyd. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like the wall.
We got into dreams really heavy in the last podcast. That's one thing where we all
An endless topic.
we
It's
all
great.
could relate to that.
Yeah.
Where it's like where someone is in the dream and you know it's someone, but you can't, like, the face isn't the same. Like, I've had where it'd be like him or someone is in my dream, but with a different face. It's someone else.
Yeah.
But I know it's David. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. It's so weird. Yeah, you can sense their energy, or sometimes, like, this has happened to me before too. It's very seldom, very rare, but like two people will like become one in your dream. Like you'll mix their energies together. If they have a similar type of energy or demeanor, and they can be
Whoa.
polar opposites as people, but their energy is the same as far as you reading it, and that becomes one person. That's happened to me a couple times. I'm like, this is too weird. Like,
Whoa.
The Dragon Ball Z fuse.
yeah, that's kind of what it's like. Weirdest dream I've ever had. That was the coolest lucid dream. Is I was a car. I was actually physically a car driving through a city. I was literally like headlight level, like the Pixar movie cars.
Wow.
But it was first person view, and I was driving through the city. And at the end of the dream, I purposely drove off a dock and killed myself. That's when I woke up.
Like it's my
But I
time.
wasn't sad. I thought it was awesome. I was like, yeah, this is rad.
suicide.
That's awesome.
It was awesome. Yeah. I had a good
What
time.
if that sounds fun, dude? I know you said you were having fun, but that sounds fucking terrifying to just wake up in cars and you're like a fucking
But
sentient machine.
no, that would be
When
terrifying.
you have a dream where you're about to reach death, and it seems to usually be something's about to stab you or you're falling off a cliff. Anytime I have those dreams, like right before I hit the bottom is when I always wake up.
Yeah, that's like a knee-jerk reaction too. And do you wake up in a panic or breathing heavy, or do you like?
My heart's beating
Yeah,
fast, and then I'm just
exactly.
kind of like, oh fuck.
That's happened to me before. What's weird is, you know, you have multiple dreams like in a 20-minute span sometimes, and it feels like forever. I've had dreams where I die, and like that's fine. But one dream in particular was so surreal to me, and it wasn't even lucid because I didn't want to be there. I had a dream that I was a soldier, and it was like somewhere in Europe, and I only know that because like there were signs that I couldn't read, and I was definitely in like an English like Germanic language, but I couldn't read it. And I was a soldier, but I got shot from behind, and I couldn't feel the pain of the bullets, but I felt vibrations going through my body, and I fell in the mud. But the scariest thing is I was there just staring for like 3 minutes in my dream.
What
and
the
it didn't
hell?
go in. So I'm not sure if that was a dream or if like
That-
that was a past life or
That's so
something.
vivid.
Yeah, that terrified me. I woke up and I was like, that was the scariest thing I've
Jesus
ever had.
Christ.
Yeah.
Have
That was not like
That's
a
nuts.
normal thing because I remember 3 minutes vividly just staring at nothing, and like things were moving by my peripheral, but I couldn't see what they were.
you ever lucid dreamed?
She's doing it right now.
Yeah.
This isn't even
Yeah.
real life.
Were you lucid dreaming just now?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Is
Don't
that
ask me questions. I'm listening to you guys go.
Okay.
I'm listening. I'm intrigued.
So,
Keep going.
well, now I can't remember what we were talking about. We were talking about lucid dreams still, right?
Yeah.
I had a dream before.
I dreamed.
All right,
once.
Martin Luther King. Are you guys hot? It feels like
Yeah,
it's
it is. I think it's just. I put
Can I
on
get
a
you another beer?
Oh no, dude, I'm good. Thank you though.
I didn't interrupt you. What you were saying?
Yeah, you had a lucid dream.
Kind of like your military thing. Like I was, it was weird, but it was like I was the sergeant on a battlefield, and I was in charge of like signing off the death certificates. And there was like a whole line of people, like I guess like the dead military men's like family members that were in line to have their loved one's certificate to be signed. And like I was sick or something, and I didn't want to sign, and they were all mad at me because I wouldn't. There was like a stack of papers that I was supposed to do, and I was just at the table slacking.
Yeah, it seems very real too.
But they couldn't be officialized until I signed it, and they were all waiting on me. But that's I don't know why.
No, but yeah, that's like a very real thing too, and it seems monotonous, but like that's also seems like it could be a real factual thing.
Yeah.
You know what's funny is like I didn't grow up with religion. I like sought God out for myself when I was 18, and I like a dummy and chose like a, what do you call it, Pentecostal church.
Yeah.
So like Assembly
It's a
of
good
God.
first start.
Oh, it's like the most extreme you can go to. And I went because my dad went there, and I was like, well, this is an effort to try to get closer to my father, religion. It all went sour. But anyway, so like I did this, and I went for 2 years, and they spoke in tongues, and like I supposedly spoke in tongues, which now is like might as well be BMX or something, or just like shout gibberish or something.
Spitting bars.
Yeah, I was spitting mad bars in God's tongue. Anyways, but so long story short, I didn't believe in like reincarnation at all. I was drinking the Kool-Aid so much that I deleted all the non-secular, the secular music out of my playlist. Like I was like, goodbye, Korn discography. I'm not listening to you guys anymore. Deleted them off my iTunes. But like, long story short, I didn't believe in reincarnation. Like I thought that was bullshit. But the older I get, the more I'm like, why wouldn't you? Like that seems very plausible now to me. And it's so funny how your brain changes. Like you thought that was like absolute absurd, an ideal like that, but now it's like, okay, that could be possible. That holds water, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys ever have moments like that. You look back, you're like, I believe that thing so heavily. Now I don't believe that anymore.
Religion.
Well, yeah. I guess that makes perfect sense.
It's hard
Christianity.
to get over that
Do you-
cognitive dissonance whenever
Yes,
you
yes.
hold something to be intrinsically true and something challenges that. Your body just like feels the urge
Yeah.
to refute it.
And guys, I have immense respect for both of you guys because you guys were indoctrinated into religion for so long. You didn't think twice about it. And now you're full-grown adults, and you've stepped away from that. And that's. I was only in there for 2 years. I can't imagine what you guys went through, you know? So, like, my hat's off to you because like, that takes a lot of respect. And there's a lot of, like, traumatic PTSD moments. Like, I had one I can share with you guys. If you guys want to share, feel free. I'm not going to make you talk about traumatizing things. Obviously, this is your podcast. But I'll tell you one. I'll tell you one that's silly, but it got me because, like, I know you've seen me do metal vocals and stuff. You're like, this guy's fucking tough. Dude, I'm a big softie. I'm like a huge teddy bear. All metal dudes are. So
Yeah, that's true.
we're all like,
Metal
we're
dudes,
all
yeah.
big teddy bears. But anyway, so like, I told you, I was Assembly of God Pentecostal for 2 years. I know what it was like to have like the call to the altar where they had the call to prayer. And everybody's like, if you got something weighing in your heart, you come up here to the altar and you just like let God and Jesus
Did you
take
say
it
you
away.
were Pentecostal?
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So you can relate to this.
Raised, yeah.
So you know what that is, like that moment where like everybody goes fleeing up and they're dancing and it's just chaos, like in its own little thing, and you know people are praying on top of you, putting hands on you to pray. Fast forward, I went to Muddy Roots, which I'm not sure if you know what that festival is. It's an awesome punk festival that they had out in Cookeville. Tons of cool bands. Like the year I went, Sleep was headlining, Neurosis was there. I was like, yeah, and I went because I was dating a girl that I think you met actually. She was a lot older than me. Big punk
At
chick.
Rocket Town.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's a punk chick, and she took me out there, and we camped. It was a good time. She had friends. Long story short, there was a band there, and I'm gonna ruin the band name, which is sad. And this is
I
sucks.
feel you on that.
I
It
should know
happens
this, but
sometimes.
it was a band I wasn't previously familiar with. Something about the Dallas Cowboys.
It happens, man. You
Oh,
can
I
love a
love them.
band.
Denver? No, it's Denver. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders.
Oh no,
I love them.
not that. It's
Nice.
No, it's like Denver or something is in their name. Oh, I don't know. Anyways, the whole band is set up. They're kind of like a folk, like indie Americana band, but they have 2 vocalists and one. It's kind of like they play like the Angel Devil Advocates. They have 2 vocalists. One is a European. No, one is a guy that looks very European. And his name's Mumsley or something like that. And the other guy, kid you not, he's from Texas, I think originally. Dresses like an old Pentecostal preacher, and like they get up there and they do this thing, like they have like this interaction on stage. It's very Fable Cry-esque, I guess you could say. It's very theatrical in the way they play. Well, the setting did not help because we're in a tent of all things. So we're in a tent, we're watching the show, music's awesome. I'm right up front, and the guy in front of me, mind you, I wasn't on any other drugs besides alcohol. The guy in front of me goes, dude, this is going to terrify you. And I guess he said that, and I think that really kind of psychologically got in my brain because he was like, this is going to really scare you. He's like, this band's really intense. And I was like, dude, I listen to death metal. I like Cannibal Corpse. Nothing's going to scare me. But this band starts playing, And literally, they kind of mime and act like a Pentecostal band or preacher. And while they're playing, like, they do an interchange where, like, he'll put his hands on Mumsley or, like, pretend to snap his neck at some point. It's really cool. But at some point, like, he had one song where he came out to the audience and is touching people. And dude, triggered, like, immediately. And I'm like, I got to get out of here. And I told the girl I was with, I was like, I can't be in here right now. And I had to get some fresh air. And I was like, whoa. And I started hyperventilating because it triggered, like, you know, that sense of being brainwashed again. And immediately I was overcome with emotion. I was like, I can't.
Damn, dude.
So that hit me, and I didn't think.
PTSD.
Yeah, and I didn't think I had that from the 2 years of being in a church. So I don't know if you guys have similar stories where something like that's hit you, or if you've let go, or like have you compartmentalized.
My
emotion?
story leaving that cult is very different from other people's leaving of that cult.
I'm gonna turn
Because
it up. That's okay.
they
That's kinda weird.
you're not really supposed to, like, if anyone leaves, can you do me a favor and break
He
down, like,
likes you.
disfellowshipping,
He really
Sorry.
likes you.
dude?
Say what?
Can you break down what disfellowshipping is? I feel like you'd do a better job.
So whenever there's a group of elders as Jehovah's Witnesses that govern each congregation, essentially, they're they have like a government scales up. You know, there's several different numbers of authority, but basically they govern over the whole congregation for whatever. And if they deem some action that you do to be especially bad for the congregation or against what the Bible tells you you're supposed to do or what have you, if it's bad enough, basically they'll just pray to God as a group, and whatever kind of general consensus, whatever feeling they get, they say that it is God's Holy Spirit that gave them the answer as to what they should do with you. And disfellowshipping is basically the most extreme example of what they could do to someone. So they say you're disfellowshipped if, generally they base it on, how repentant does this person look?
Mm-hmm.
So it's just kind of going off of that, or how bad was the sin, or how many people know about the sin. So do we have to make an example out of you for the other people?
Crazy.
Yeah.
And that could be masturbation. That could be pornography.
I know. I'm thinking like huge things, like something massive, but that seems
no.
something very small.
No. And disfellowshipping is basically shunning you as far as
family.
You can still come to the congregation. They want you to still come, but basically that is an incentive for no one's allowed to talk with you, no one's allowed to eat with you.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how close you are with your family, unless of course you're a child and you're living with your parents. They have to interact with you somewhat to get along. But it's basically what they'll tell you is that's actually a loving implementation from God, because that means now you're gonna be so torn up, that you can't see your friends and your family, that you're gonna want to come back to God.
Yeah, but
so
it just seems so brutal. Yeah.
Yeah. So I've actually been labeled as something even worse than that.
Oh no.
So
you don't have to share.
Yeah, I've been labeled as an apostate.
What is that?
Which means a person who tries to turn away a man of God, essentially. So
like, don't go to this church, bro.
Basically, if you give them any ideas that at all are in any way in conflict with their doctrine, then you're labeled as an apostate. So if I'm saying, well, what do you think of this, in relation to this? They're like, well, no, you need to get it from the Bible. And when I bring it up to the Bible, I'm saying, well, it doesn't seem like this scripture and this scripture, are in accordance with one another. Then they're like,
Sure.
well, no, that's our interpretation, and it's the only reason why you're saying that is it's a direct attack from Satan himself, getting into you to.
I couldn't hang. I couldn't hang with these folks.
I'm
a very defiant person by nature, so yeah.
And your parents, family, they're not allowed. They're not supposed to talk to you at all if you leave.
So you're basically outcasted and shunned.
Yeah,
excommunicated.
Like the Amish have, I think it's called Ramadan, where their young go out and live and stuff. And it's a similar thing where if you leave, you don't have a support group, so you will come back because you're homeless. You're thrown out to the wolves. So that's their whole tactic, is to leave
The
you
world's
stranded.
terrifying, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The world is scary.
They
You
constantly
have to have
pitch it
this.
as that the world. They're like, the world out there is just Satan's playground, and you go out there, and all the people who seem to be nice and all the enticing things are really just pits for you to fall in. And
It's
then
like an us and them mentality.
Yeah.
That's
So, I'm really fortunate that my parents are awesome, and they just don't obey that rule.
that's cool, man.
Like
I'm glad
I have
to
a
hear
good I have a good relationship with my parents, which is rare
Yeah.
for someone in my shoes.
that's extremely rare that his parents are actually going against what they're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
By keeping in contact and having good faith with him.
My sister is a regular pioneer, which means she knocks on doors 70 hours a month, excuse me.
Yeah.
Which is still a lot.
That's a lot.
That's
man.
a job.
Yeah, that's insane.
Yet I still have a good relationship with them, which is unheard of. Like,
I'm happy to hear that.
especially because I'm not only did I leave, but I've been really vocal online about my disdain for that cult.
Yeah.
So
I'd say, like,
I've been very lucky.
yeah, I'm not like labeling you as, but yeah, you'd have liberal leanings of like towards, don't do that. You know what I'm saying? You're like openly, you said you were an atheist and now agnostic. So
I've talked about witnesses extensively on the podcast, and I don't have much good to say. I do have some good to say
I'm sure. Yeah.
about Christianity in general. Really.
Oh, for sure. And I feel the same way, man. I don't
Yeah.
hate all Christians.
Yeah, because like one thing I will say is like my parents and the way I was raised gave me a really like well-rounded like thirst for like religious text. Like I've read the Bible, and I know the Bible, and I know its contents better than most Christians do. Most Christians, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like Sunday Christians that just don't read their Bible, they just go to church. Like, and the Bible has a lot of really good content in there that is valuable to humanity.
Absolutely.
Without a doubt. And I have a lot of respect for a lot of the text in it, It's one of those things like any religion. Like, I've read the Quran also. And it's one of those things like any religion where there's good and bad in this. There's a lot of shit that I don't care for, and there's a lot of shit that's really good.
It's duality, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I subscribe to that too. Do you have a favorite book of the Bible?
Job.
Either of you guys? Job for you.
Job, absolutely.
My brother would offer weed to the Jehovah Witness when they come knocking on the door. I'm not even kidding. He'd smoke it right in front of them, and just whatever. I'm
That's
like,
hilarious.
that's so. I would be embarrassed about it.
It's like, I wonder how many of them actually wanted to buy some, but they have to come in groups and
yeah.
twos, so
Yeah.
they're like, fuck, I gotta, oh, I don't do that,
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
I was listening to a podcast the other day. I think it was like Theo Vaughn. I don't know if you guys, do you know
Oh,
Theo?
yeah.
Yeah, Theo Vaughn was saying that like when he was in college, he went to college in Louisiana, I think where he's from, or somewhere in the South. And he said Jehovah's Witnesses would come to his like dorms or whatever, and he was like, "Dude, I'm playing video games. You want to play some video games?" So he would come in and play video games with him, and like it was just a mutual respect for one another. It was like, I get to play video games, and like I don't have to listen to him like preach religion to me. So they became friends that way. I thought that was kind of
Nice.
cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
You saw him a minute ago, my other roommate. I met him when I was like 14 online playing video games.
Oh, that's cool.
And that was my only friend that
Whoa.
wasn't in that.
Dude, it's cool that you guys are. You remind me of myself, dude. I keep a lot of the friends that I
Yeah.
have like my entire life. I'm still friends with those guys. So yeah.
So I've known him 10 years, like since I was a little kid, and he's seen me change like immensely, like
Sure.
since that time.
Yeah.
And like that kind of relationship is really cool because we met online. And
That
How
is
old is
dope,
he
man.
again?
Lazy's 28.
Mhm.
So I was 14. He would have no, I was younger than that. It's like 12, and he was like 16.
Mm-hmm.
He's just a pedophile that's trying to get.
Yeah.
He's actually a 40-year-old dude.
He's losing an interest in Alex the older he gets.
Yeah.
He's like, man, I don't think we're friends anymore.
Yeah.
We're not playing.
Did he go to bed?
Yeah, he did.
No, that's cool. I'm glad you came back full circle and
Thanks, man.
your parents are still supportive.
I really appreciate that because a lot of people do not
Again,
get it. Like
I get it because I've been there.
Yeah.
I was only there for 2 years, so like I was so susceptible. Like when you believe something so fully and then you do a 180, you're drastically different. Your mind changes.
Yeah.
You like look at things from a different perspective.
And
But I
there,
always try to put myself in other people's shoes. So that's my rule.
anyone else that's been in my shoes has a worse story about
I imagine.
getting
I imagine
excluded.
there needs to be, and if there's not a support group for people that get, like you said, excommunicated from religion completely, there
Well,
needs to be.
If you're
Because-
watching this podcast and you're a Jehovah's Witness, you have friends.
yeah,
and-
there's a network out there for you.
And like there are plenty of people that will still, talk to you and give
I
you
bet
that
there's
support.
a Reddit somewhere, or subreddit.
There's got to be.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
there's a lot of them.
And that's another cool way that the internet, sometimes the internet's not all bad. It's not all, trickery and smoke and mirrors. There's like, you can communicate. If you have an issue, if you have a disability, a disease, there's people out there with the same thing. And I love the bridge of communication for that.
That reminds me of Fight Club when he goes to the support groups.
Love it. That's one of my favorite novels of all time, by the way.
Dude, yeah, I've read Fight Club too.
I love
Okay. So since we both read Fight Club and I don't have anyone else to talk about this with,
it. Okay.
one of my favorite parts about it is because I saw the movie before I read the book, so I already knew the
Same.
twist.
But yeah, I got into Palina complaining, however you say his name. What is he? Oh, it's his foot. I was like, what is he doing?
Everything for
So go ahead. I'm sorry to make you
Um,
off.
Do you remember in the books he's like, well, first of all, there's like a whole chapter on building bombs.
Yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah, it was like the anarchist cookbook chapter.
Yeah.
Like, inside Fight
Yeah.
Club.
It was, that's so edgy. And then also, there's a part where, this part's in the movie too, but it's way better in the book, where he's burning his hand with the chemicals,
Yes.
and then he retreats back to his mind space, which is like in this igloo with a penguin.
Mm-hmm.
And there's like a whole chapter that's just in his head, like in the, like deeper part of his mind, like where he's retreated to.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
And the funny thing is, and they don't really touch on that in the movie either, is I think he learns how to get there in the support group because
Yeah.
they keep telling him to go to this place.
That's something they bring up
Yeah.
earlier, where it's like,
It's
when
cool. It's a genius novel, man, and like,
Yeah.
I try. If I had to describe myself in like a non-religious sense, is like I'm kind of like an optimistic nihilist. I'm like nothing matters, but it's going to be all right.
Yeah.
That's kind of like where I'm at.
We're
with
having a
things.
good time anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
Yeah.
stoic. So it's stoicism.
Kind of, yeah. And like I even lean towards like absurdist stuff sometimes, like Albert Camus. Have you guys ever read The Stranger? That's a good
Oh,
book.
Camus. I've seen quotes. I've never read any of his
I'll have to
stuff.
bring it to you, man. I got
Okay,
it.
sure.
It's a cool novel. It's wild. I read that like in 2 days on an airplane, and like I was just
Camus is one of those names that comes up when
Yeah.
you talk about nihilism.
exactly
Right there
that
with Nietzsche.
Nietzsche. Yeah, it's crazy, man. All those people. Whoa, his head's all the way in there.
I just finished Crime and Punishment, actually.
nice. I've not read that one.
Dostoevsky. That's it was, to be honest with you, it's dry because it's like written in.
Yeah, a lot of
Way
these books
longer.
are. You got to be awake and have an open mind. It's like Barry's face in there.
Yeah.
This cat's too cute.
I know.
Half this podcast is just observing.
Yeah. The cat's not even on camera. We're just all looking at the cat, being like, "Aw."
I could do this all day.
He's adorable. Good idea about bringing him.
Yeah, man. I told her to bring the cat. The cat's for all the views. It's like.
There you go.
Yeah. Do it for the views.
Next week we'll have 2 cats. We're just gonna keep adding cats until we get enough views.
Hey,
Oh, God,
I
don't
like
say
the
that.
sound of this.
Yeah, dude. It's just a sea of cats.
It's like
it's a kitten nursery.
this kitten just like instantly exudes just happiness and good
For sure.
vibes.
It does.
It's just
That is the
awesome.
cat from the Hang In There poster. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
It reminds me of Hina a little bit.
Yeah. He does great. They have a therapy program in some hospitals where like dying patients or
That's
patients with
rad.
terminal illnesses, they'll just like shower them with kittens.
Aw.
It works,
So
man.
cute.
It's a massive
Mhm.
dopamine boost. Yeah, having animals and pets in general lowers blood pressure. It's proven, so it's nice.
That's awesome.
They're
I hope he
so
doesn't
cool.
pull on that cable and fuck up my microphone.
Yeah, he
Do
He
might.
might.
it.
He might use a cat.
Do a cat
He might
thing.
just do it. Oh, that's my keyboard.
My favorite thing about observing young animals is just how clumsy and like aloof they are because they're not, they're like
They're not
babies. They're not used to having bodies. They've got their like natural instincts of what they should be doing, but it's just like they don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, compared to humans, though, human babies are pretty useless compared to
They
how
are, yeah. Like animals have to have that apex predator instinct. Like, okay, we've got to do this, but Watching dogs that have feet that are too big for their bodies is hilarious.
Yeah.
They're like tripping over themselves.
Yeah. I love baby beagles with like the big fluffy ears that they haven't grown into
Dude, yeah, and they're like,
Yeah.
some of them step on their own ears.
yet.
It's the best.
The best.
Sorry if I sound like a 40-year-old smoker today. I promise. It's just all the thrash metal vocals. I don't
Hey,
normally
man,
sound like
you're
this.
good.
I'm sure you went all out today. I'd love to hear
I
something.
did, but it's 6 hours of
You did
screaming
not.
is not cool, man.
Yeah.
It's like do it again, over and over again. It was fun though. I got some good takes. That stuff will see the light of day.
Yeah, definitely send me a link.
I've got 2 irons in the fire actually. I've got that studio project, but I have another band
Yeah?
that I'm starting. Yeah, I can't say much about that either, but it's very much in the infantile stage. Oh no, there it goes. Is that it?
Yep.
We're still live.
It's okay. I'll fix it later.
But no, these are also 2 guys I grew up with. Both of them are dads. One of them has
I'm
3
really
kids. and
excited
one of them
about
has
that,
1.
man.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see
We're
what you
all
got
old
cooking
dudes.
up.
We're
man.
just old dudes making music. So
Where are those
Nice.
cat toys you were talking about?
Winchester.
Oh.
I didn't bring
So what part of Winchester did you live in? Because I went through the city.
You know where the square's at?
Yeah. I saw the high school was like the biggest building there,
Yeah.
which is crazy. And I was like, that high school's nicer than my high
You know
school.
the theater where the square's at?
Yeah, it's very dope.
If you keep going, like, okay, so if the theater's on your right, and you keep going for the stoplight,
Mhm.
take a right. I'm like on that road, just a few blocks,
That's crazy.
like right next to the
How old are you? 24?
24.
I wonder if you knew. I bet if I mentioned your name, I hate to mention names
I didn't
on there.
grow up there. I've only
Okay.
been there a year.
Never mind that. I won't mention it because you don't know her then. That's cool.
Well, I work with a lot of people in Winchester.
She doesn't live there anymore.
Okay,
Yeah.
probably not then.
Yeah.
Yeah, I grew up in Fayetteville,
Okay.
and then Columbia, then
Dude, nice.
Winchester.
I've been kayaking out in Columbia recently in the Duck. Yeah, it's good fun, man.
I'm glad to be here because I've
Nashville's
been.
growing, man. Like I grew up here my entire life, and like it's just insane. It's night and day, man.
Despite how toxic Nashville can be sometimes, I'm glad to be here.
It's a learning experience. I've learned so much just living in the city, like near the city. I would never. You lived further in the city than I do, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, the closest I lived was on. Do you know where Briley Parkway is?
You're making it mad.
Like over there by Glencliff High School. I lived over there, so I was like maybe
He's
a
like,
mile
why
from
won't
Guitar
this foot
Center.
die?
Okay.
Like that in that area.
I don't know the school. Like, there's a Glencliff Road too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's out that way. And everything.
Everyone turned and looked at me at the same time, like say something.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm so easily distracted by this kid.
Yeah.
It's too
I know he's too
too
cute.
much cuteness.
I know, it's kind of ridiculous. It's like he knows it.
Yeah, he's cute. I don't want him to grow up. I want him to be tiny forever.
I understand that.
I feel like you mentioned to me that there was something you wanted to talk about on the podcast. I can't remember now.
There's 2 things you asked him if you could mention on it. You asked him
Me?
2 things, yeah.
Oh,
I don't remember what
one
they
was
were.
about music and one was about the protest, and I think
Yeah.
we covered both of those.
We talked about both of those things.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, protest we cover out the bat, which, you know, that's a mixed bag. Understandable. Tensions and emotions run high with that.
Yeah.
That's why I deleted Facebook, man. I just can't.
Hold it like this?
I can't do it.
Softly, okay. Just hold it in the air.
What is that?
No, like
Oh.
this.
Okay. Thanks. I needed that.
Anything else off the top of your head? Anything you
No,
wanna cover?
I'm trying to think.
Oh, I'm bald now. I don't know if you knew that. Yeah, I don't have hair.
you rock it though. You got
Thanks,
that.
man.
Graduated.
I got a round head.
You got some like Heisenberg. like-
Dude, yeah, I'm making meth right now. So much.
Right
I'm
now,
gonna have
this second.
yeah, well, it's my roommate's
That's some
making
shaking
it.
bake.
Jesse Pinkman, yeah. Is that a water bottle full of wine?
I wish. It's full of water and chlorophyll.
Oh, okay.
Get that plant juice, baby.
Nice, man. I wish I was that healthy. I try to stay healthy.
Oh, I'm not healthy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I eat a vegetarian diet, but it's a piss poor vegetarian diet.
Fair. I mean, hey,
I
man,
do
you're
that.
making strides.
Yeah.
I'm trying to do better. Like, again, it's stupid. I'm not old, but when you hit 30, you're like, fuck. Like, that's middle age, kind of.
Yeah.
So
there's two there's two subjects I always go to with you, and that's animal rights and determinism.
oh, those are huge, man.
Those are two
Yeah.
huge
Yeah, those are
topics,
huge topics.
and he's the guy to talk to on both of those topics.
That's cool though.
Like,
I take that.
I wouldn't say the authority to talk to on both.
But no, the things
I know,
in my
I know a little
circles.
bit about them.
if you like to debate them, that's fun though. Have you guys seen a show called Devs?
Devs?
On Devs, it's DEVS, Devs. You guys should watch that. It's on Hulu, I think. But Alex Garland wrote it, and he also did Ex Machina, the movie. If you guys have seen that. And that deals with AI, which is a huge topic for me. I like talking about artificial intelligence, singularity theory, and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
That's all of Eugen's EP. That's what that stuff is about, man.
Andromeda?
Andromeda?
Was
It's
that-
Anatomia.
That's right. I'm sorry.
It's all good.
Andromeda Galaxy.
Yeah. It's about the Andromeda guys. No, Anatomia. Yeah, man.
That's what I meant.
Actually, one thing I liked, man, about when I met you, and
Dude,
like,
that EP was so good. Holy shit! I slapped that shit in my car like all
dude, I
day.
appreciate that. Like, I can't listen to it. I'll tell you that much. I'm like,
Well,
I would
it's
have done
you.
1,000. Yeah, I did 1,000. I would have done 1,000 things differently on it. But
I can't stand here like watching these back and hearing myself talk. I hate that.
oh yeah, yeah. I'm just, I just don't care anymore. I
Yeah.
guess. And if I'm in the process of making it, cool. Afterwards, I'm like, it's there. It exists now. You know. But no, one thing when I met you, dude, is you started doing. I looked at your writings. I guess it was on Instagram or something.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, this guy likes to write. That's cool. Because I don't know if you know or not, Eugen's EP, Anatomia, I wrote a full short story and then pulled the lyrics from the story
No.
from the point of view of like the main character of that. So it's very much a concept EP, but I hid my emotions in the main characters.
Death is not your
Perspective.
identity.
Yeah. It's pretty cool. So yeah, the whole story is about a scientist that works for like an artificial intelligence company.
Okay.
And he creates like basically consciousness. It's about displacing consciousness into like artificial intelligent bodies, and he stumbles upon it. But the company, being greedy, wants to immediately go to human trials and make it a thing so that we can live forever. Like it's a natural. It's a sci-fi trope. It's old as whatever, dude. But I'm like, I'm gonna do my spin.
But you wrote a concept.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do my
Yeah,
spin because
fuck
I thought
yeah.
it was cool. And so what happens is his wife apparently commits suicide, and then like he finds out later that his wife had become her body basically becomes the host for the very first. She's like patient zero in what he created, and he doesn't know about it. So the company stages her suicide.
Dude, that's epic.
Yeah, and so she becomes like the first artificial android or whatever. And that's kind of where the story. You're gonna look at that EP totally different
Yeah,
now that I've told
for
you. that.
sure.
Yeah, it makes a lot more sense.
You do a really good job, like even though you're screaming, keeping your vocals where I can understand what you're saying.
I try to do that intentionally. I don't
And-
like the Cookie Monster vocals.
Yeah.
So I'm like, what are they saying? It sounds like a toilet flushing. Yeah,
Yeah. So like I was able to pick up on most of the vocals, I think.
cool, man. I do that intentionally, and like I like just a solid mid, so that it's legible, and I try to enunciate pretty well. I still have trouble with that, but it's something you work with. I don't know.
Man, I can't wait to
If I could
it.
sing better, I totally would just pull a Zach from Family
Yeah.
Cry and just do that because that dude fucking rips. He's cool. But I can't. So I make it for him like, oh, dude, crazy angry guy. Yeah.
You work with Lee.
That's right, man. Yeah, it's your gift. Just fucking use it. So
I would love to be able to scream, and I've tried.
yeah,
And,
don't do it.
yeah.
You got to do it the right way, man. But yeah, no,
Everyone I've
it's
talked
trial
to,
and error. Trial and error.
everyone I've talked to about it is because I'll try to do it, and they're like, oh, that hurts, and like I've had some people tell me that like I'm not doing it right, and then I've had other people like when I've tried to do it, like actually it was Devin, he was telling me, which Devin's not an expert on the subject.
I was about to say, is Devin like a huge metal vocalist? Because he just
No.
like
He's a
all of a sudden
goddamn brilliant drummer, but
I've heard that.
yeah. But he was telling me that you gotta like it hurts at first because it's a muscle, and you have to like basically. I didn't realize, which is something I do believe, like having practiced it a little bit, is it's a completely almost different thing than like your voice. Like it comes from a different area.
It does. It's very much diaphragm like singing, but think of your actual larynx acts as like a filter. So what you're doing is you're flexing, you're trying to make your vocal cords dance and not collide.
Can you do some?
I'm not going to do it right now. I've been doing it all day. It would hurt right now.
I'll show you some.
Yeah, just show
Okay.
them my music later, or our music. Fuck, my band was better than me. Trust me,
Yeah.
they're great. musicians.
Eugen's fucking great.
Yeah, check out Eugen right now. They got a great vocals too. There's no bad blood between me and those guys. I love all of them. So dude, have you seen their Trooper cover of Iron Maiden?
Mm-mm.
It's awesome.
I need
They
to-
did like a quarantine style video where they're all
Oh,
performing it,
nice.
and that Shane can sing, whereas I did my best at singing on the EPs
Nice.
and stuff. But like Shane is a top tier vocalist, and I fully back him as the vocalist for that band. So there's no bad blood. Anyways, back to the vocal cord thing. So you're making them dance instead of collide. Because when you collide, that's how you get the soreness, the roughness of your vocals. So you kind of like. So say you're trying to go for full volume, you need to be here, right below it. So you need to not push as hard. And just focus on like getting a certain tone, and just focus on like, okay, I'm hitting the spot where I'm making my vocal cords dance. Because they have video cameras like that they can put in your throat, and you can watch what normal vocal cords should look like while screaming.
That's
And there's
Well,
this thing called the
cool.
Zen of Screaming too. I have a DVD you can borrow. It's interesting.
Yeah, for
It's
sure.
cool. It's a literally classically trained vocalist that lives up north that teaches metal vocalists how to scream the right way. It's cool.
Nice.
Yeah, and there's a lot of like technique too. People don't realize, and I'm like, this is not, people have been screaming for years now. It's like
There's a-
70s, 80s.
I'm sure you've seen it. There's a video of a guy just asking people to scream.
Oh,
on
was
the
it Jared
streets.
Dine? Yeah, Jared
Maybe.
Dine, I think. Yeah,
And like,
it's like not as easy as you thought, huh?
Yeah.
And
he finally-
anybody could do that.
he finds someone who can just belt, and he's like, "So you didn't just like do that today, did you?" He's like, "Oh no, I've been doing this for years."
Yeah, people practice
Yeah.
it, man. Like it looks ridiculous, especially as a dude. But you do it in your car, you don't care. You just make it happen.
Yeah.
I did take actual vocal lessons, though, to be fair,
Okay.
to make it better. And I can pitch match on a piano and do things like that. But I'm just
Oh, nice.
naturally not gifted as a
Do
singer.
you have any
Like,
recommendations for
for screaming?
For like classes or instructors on?
I went to Guitar Center. I know that's very
Okay.
cheesy, but like that's where I found an instructor, and the lessons were pretty reasonable. My advice,
enough.
man, is there's so many free resources on YouTube.
Okay.
Like literally, I could send you a ton of screaming and singing for both, and like they can teach you how to sing on there. There's a lot of classes online you can take. You don't even have to go anywhere. Leave
I
your
can-
computer home.
I can like rap fast, but what I really
That's cool.
want to do is like be able to make a shrill sound, because I can't utter that. Like I'm not wired for that as I am now, because I haven't practiced it ever.
It's like you said, it's a muscle, man. It's just like riding a bike. You got to start
Yeah.
somewhere.
That and I've always said this and never like just like the screaming thing, never done anything like actually pursued that.
Yeah, I
But
gotcha.
I would love to play like something brass, like a trumpet or something.
Dude, I was actually in band. I kick myself every day because I play guitar, I play bass. Okay, I'm okay at keys. But they did you guys ever take? Well, you said you were homeschooled. Did you take band or go into band, or were you homeschooled as
I
well?
played a little.
He plays violin.
Oh, dude, amazing! That's a great instrument.
I try to play violin.
I mean, you
It's-
try.
It
That's
takes,
all that
it
matters.
takes a long time to actually get.
A lot of vibrato,
to
man.
get
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
that's crazy.
I did.
Yeah.
I took guitar in middle school,
Right on. Yeah,
so I know just very, very basic. But I lost much of what I learned.
it's muscle memory, man. You can probably pick it back up. But long story short, my music teacher in 6th grade, she like profiled people's faces. She's like, "You have a teardrop lip. You should play saxophone." I was like, "Dude, I would fucking love to play saxophone. I want to be Kenny G so bad." But it just didn't happen that way. So now I'm self-taught. So, long story
So
short,
she based what
She would-
they got to play on their aesthetic.
based on their physical appearance, and I know this sounds crazy, but like literally, the reason you see most bigger guys, I'm not going to say fat, but most bigger people playing tubas is based on the fact that they have bigger jaws and bigger lungs. So when they can blow more air, it's because their cheeks can go out
Dude.
further. And
Holy
that's
shit.
why. And so if you have a teardrop lip, you can play woodwind or brass instruments. I had no idea that facial symmetry and music were
You're
related.
blowing my mind right now.
Well, dude, there's so much studies on all this stuff. It's weird. And I'm not an authority on any of this stuff. I love weird facts. So, but yeah, like, and if you're obviously restless, I told you I worked at Innovative Percussion, which is actually, they supply the majority of their sticks and mallets. They supply like high schools and stuff. It's meant for like educational. So I literally worked in a warehouse with 13 drummers, and they were the most ADHD motherfuckers you've ever met. Like they can't hold a train of thought to save anything. So we'll
That
be
sounds like a
building.
drummer.
It's like a woodworking shop. So yeah, we'll be building mallets and stuff, and I'll look up and there's another guy walking around the room, and I'm just like, we're never getting anything done. We have work orders piling up. I'm like, yeah, it's crazy. my favorite thing to build was the gong mallets because they're massive. So I felt like I was building vampire stakes all day because they're like that big around, little dowels. They're
Nice.
cool. Yeah, it's fun.
That sounds fun.
Yeah, dude. And running the giant lathe machines that actually cut real drumsticks is fun too. Also, I learned how to use a stick pairing machine, so I can actually like throw. There's a technique to. Do you guys have drumsticks here? Anybody have drumsticks?
I don't.
I used to play drums, but I haven't in years.
So if you take 2 sticks out of any sticks, and the way that you know there's a good solid pair of drumsticks, you can throw the sticks against each other, and there's a tonality to it, and they will be in pitch. Which I don't know if you guys know
Really?
that. So
Dude, you're
solid,
blowing my fucking mind.
2 solid pieces of white hickory, if you throw them against each other, have a tonality to them, and they're toned. All days, it was kind of miserable. We had 2-tone sticks. That's what they call them. So if you had a stick that you threw them together, and there's 2 different pitches every time you hear it, they would go in this giant box called 2-tone. And so some days I would come into work, and I liked it because I always rotated this out. I would be stuck in this like non-air conditioned room with just a single fan and just have to throw 2-tone sticks until I found a relative pitch between them and throw them in the pile so that we can pair them later.
Wow.
That's insane.
I can't read sound that well. I wouldn't have been able to do that.
So you can read pitch really well then.
I didn't think I could, but then I was doing it and they're like, yeah, you got this down. And I was like, right, sweet. That's okay.
That's a great thing to have for a musician.
It is, but the funny thing is, like, I still suck at singing. Like, I can hit notes, but I'm like, it's all breath control for me. That's what I suck at.
You can have perfect pitch, and then your vocality
Yeah,
might not be
exactly.
able to reach that.
But guitar-wise, yeah, I could hear guitar pitches pretty well, so that's not bad. I don't know. It's fun. It's interesting.
That is interesting.
It's cool stuff, man.
Cool little music facts.
So where are you working at these days?
I'm actually
Unemployment, baby.
I
No, I'm just
should-
kidding.
at a large pizza chain.
Oh, right on, dude.
Yeah.
That's
At a large pizza chain.
We're not going to say it.
Are you afraid to drop the name?
Is
on
it the
camera?
racist pizza?
Yeah.
The racist pizza.
Yeah.
That's all you got to say. Hey, welcome to Racist Pizza.
Racist pizza.
No, I mean I don't. Should I say where I work at? Oh,
Are you not
Okay.
supposed to
You
say
just-
where you work at?
Yeah.
Why is that not okay?
Are we
it's just a
sponsored?
shitty little delivery pizza job, but
It's
like,
We work
I-
together.
yeah, we both work there.
Oh, is that where
we
you
don't
guys
have,
met?
We don't have
Yeah.
to drop
That's
the
rad.
address, but
Yeah, you're right.
No,
We
I'll
work-
work on this street. Come and get some pizzas from me.
No, I guess the problem.
2 for 50.
Why are you so afraid to say it?
I'm thinking if I'm gonna say something bad about my job, I don't want to say exactly what the job is.
Well, we already.
Yeah, we
I
have
just
a
said
late
racist
now.
pizza. I'm
We
pretty
have a
sure we
late
know what it
now.
is.
it's too late now.
I mean, if your
If fuck it, I
coworkers
get fired,
are on
whatever.
Facebook, they know who you're talking about.
Oh yeah,
Fair
you're
enough.
friends with anybody on
They
there?
already know what job.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
True. I don't have it posted on my thing, like where I work or anything. It doesn't matter. I'm being stupid.
Yeah,
Racist
I'm new here. to
Anyway,
Tennessee.
Papa
I've been
John's.
on-
I figured as much. That was the most common denominator. I was like, hey,
I actually delivered pizzas 14 hours yesterday.
that's insane.
Nice.
10 to
That's
midnight.
insane. But dude, I imagine business is booming for you guys
It's
right now.
been insane.
Yeah, nobody wants to leave their house.
Yeah.
Do you have to like drop the pizza like 5 feet away from the doorstep?
Actually, yeah, I have
Some
a-
of them, yeah. Some are no
Freaking
contact. Most of
insane.
them are.
Do they have to specify in note orders or
It's by
Yeah.
request, yeah.
like? Okay,
It's
that's
like
interesting.
frisbee that pizza.
Yeah.
It's like fucking Breaking Bad, just throw it on the roof.
Yeah.
I actually saw iHeartRadio was hiring here in Nashville, so I'm gonna apply there.
Do that, man. It's cool, man. I
You're
always.
alone at work.
Sorry.
Just gonna leave me there by myself.
No. I'll come work off the clock. I'll come work for free.
If I have any advice for
There you
anybody,
go.
it's like if you don't like your job, change it because
Yeah.
you can work anywhere.
It's so
if you
hard
if you're
to find a job
able-bodied
right
and have
now.
4 limbs, you can work anywhere.
That's
you know?
how I view my
I mean-
job right now. It is a pizza job. I could do that
Yeah,
anywhere.
I've had
anytime.
so many jobs in my
Yeah.
lifetime.
Yeah, there's a difference between a job and a career.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I'm respectful. Like I'm a pretty hard worker. I'll at least spend a month at a place before I quit and decide if I like it or not. Like I do IT from home right now, which is very fortunate. I can't stand it. I do IT for Vanderbilt, and it's like I teach 90-year-old people how to change their passwords, and it's painstaking.
Oh my
Painstaking.
god.
But I also talk to nurses all day, and that can be cool. There's some rewarding
I
things.
bet you're really good at that.
Oh, dude,
You
it
have a
is-
good people voice.
Yeah, it's fake.
Yeah.
It's completely fake.
I used to work in sales, so I know what you mean.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
Some one lady thought I was a recording, and she was like, option 3, and I'm like, you're talking to a human being, lady.
She's like, oh my god, I can't believe it.
Dude, that's hilarious.
But that's another reason why I hate my job is because as a vocalist, you need your voice, and I'm
Oh,
talking.
you're talking all
I'm
the time.
talking all day at IT, then I go into Zanies on Fridays and Saturdays and have to talk to more people behind a mask and serve. And it's crazy. So
should just
Is
like
Amy's
type
open?
into one of those
It's
text to
open now.
speech things.
Dude, that'd be hilarious.
I haven't.
What
so,
is going on? Have
Give
you
it-
tried turning it off and on?
Yeah, just play it off.
Yeah.
I am definitely a robot.
Dolphinately.
That wouldn't fly for some of the southern people I talk to.
No, they're taking over.
Sugar dabs. Yeah.
Charlene, go get my rifle.
I've had some interesting calls. I've had calls where there's like birds in the background, dogs barking, and like a couple will have a fight with me on the lawn, and I'm like, dude, I am just trying to get you on your tier point
Yeah.
on time.
Thanks for ruining my day.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, right now, like
unplug it,
doctors,
replug it again.
doctors aren't seeing active patients because of COVID-19.
Mhm.
So unless
Through
it's
the
a-
cameras and stuff.
exactly. So I'm
Yeah.
doing telehealth calls, which I have to set up Zoom meetings with their doctor. And like, it is such a thankless job because they're like freaking out. And then as soon as the doctor appears in the Zoom, they're like, "Thank you, bye." And I'm like, "Dude, are you serious? I just spent 30 minutes on the phone with you." It's crazy. It sucks.
Man.
It pays my bills. I don't
Yeah.
care.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I get that, dude. That's
Yeah.
pretty much how I feel.
Do they time you down to like this? How long you spend on a call is like how
Yeah,
effective
all my
it
calls are
was, or-
recorded and they have metrics. It's like pretty much it. If you can't solve things in like in about a 12-minute time span, GTFO or send it out. We have a local IT team that can take care of it. For patients, though, those are the ones that drag out long. And like you feel for them too. Some old ladies are like, "What do I do? What is a computer? What's a browser?" Like it's insane. And I'm like, "Oh God."
Yeah. It's like, there's nothing wrong.
So do you know how to hack?
Are you a hacker?
I know a little bit of code. I'm not that adept. Honestly, I make fun of, like, I make jokes all the time. I work with a bunch of nerds, and I'm definitely a nerd, but I'm not that type of nerd. Like, I want to build my own computer right now, but I'm not a gamer per se. I don't game a lot. I have a shitty laptop that's 10 years old. Like, how I fell into IT, yeah. Dude, how I fell into IT is, like, beyond me, but I went to school for it, and I do it, so it's
I
crazy.
know how to find somebody's longitude and latitude.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Based on their
That's
IP?
as much as I can.
Yeah, somebody
Oh, and I
somebody
know how to
told me
find
my
out-
address
You can
actually.
you can find out where somebody lives, their relatives' addresses, your background check, if you're married, anything. Your old
Okay.
addresses, phone number, all your family, everybody that you know, phone number, addresses, everything,
Yeah.
the whole history.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Cool.
I've done it before.
Cool.
Yeah, I really should be like into that. Like white hat hacking is like really in demand right now. If you go to security, but like the CompTIA exams you have to take are so fucking hard. Like I'm A+ certified, and I'm not
Oh, I
networking
was
or
too.
security. Oh, were you?
Yeah, when I was in military school, I finished the GED too early,
Mhm.
and so they just put us in a computer class to
Yeah.
finish the rest of the time that we were there for.
A+ was cool, but
Yeah.
you get to networking and security, and it gets real hard, real
Mhm.
fast. I know like a bunch of people that have taken it and failed, but you study for so long.
Is A+ a writing software or a
No,
language?
A+ is that's you're thinking of C# plus and like
Mhm.
C#, but that's a language.
And coding.
Yeah, well, I tried to get into
that.
National Software School. I've applied 3 times, but it's so in demand. And
Hmm.
sad to say, I was told by, because actually, Eugen's old drummer, Matt, he actually just finished the boot camp. It's a 6-month-long boot camp there. And I was told, and this is not a whatever thing, this is not race related, but like they would rather hire women and minorities ahead of white males because the field is flooded with white dudes because it's IT. I mean, that's a
Yeah.
flooded field. So I get it. They need to diversify the field. But that's why I haven't gotten in yet. But I'm not discouraged because there's a ton of coding boot camps. You can do it from
See,
home.
that's one thing I'm really not
I don't
so
really
sure
agree
about
with quotas,
is
to be honest. But
there are certain things that men and women and minorities or versus
Sure.
white people tend to want on average, and there are definitely discriminatory barriers within
Without a
within
doubt.
certain people's
Right.
way. But like
Why are you looking at me
for
like that?
example, like mathematics is predominantly white males who are in the field of mathematics.
Absolutely.
Most women aren't into mathematics, on average
Mhm.
per se. So it shouldn't be held at a 50-50 quota to where
I
they're
agree.
to
Yeah.
where they're withholding, a lot of brilliant men mathematicians who would like to be in the field to
Equal
where they're
opportunity.
they're
Yeah.
just waiting, equal opportunity, not of outcome.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
kind of-
Exactly.
Yeah.
I agree with you. It should be kind of an exponential thing as you apply. And again, like my buddy Matt, he's a white dude from Brentwood. Like he definitely got it. Like, and he's done with it now. So it was just not in the cards for me at the time, and I respect that. I got to meet the guy that started the school, and he's cool. Big Grateful Dead fan. very much an
Which
old
means
hippie.
he likes drugs.
Well, yeah, most likely. He's an old hippie, but he was very cool. I'm like, I respect anybody that started a software school. But, I still have a book at home to learn Python, so I might get into that at some point. I don't know, man. The older I get, the more I don't want to spend my entire life in front of a computer screen.
Lacey can do some coding. My other roommate.
Oh, cool.
Some coding.
Yeah, he's made little apps and things like that as well.
Dude, yeah, he can make so much money doing that. Is he in that field at all, or he works with you currently?
He works with me currently right now. I'm not. I know he said like later in life he wants to pursue neuroscience.
That's
things like
amazing.
that.
Yeah. Dude, he can do so much. He should start now, honestly, though.
I don't mean to toot his horn too much, but he's got a brilliant mind.
He seems like a
Oh,
very
yeah.
smart guy.
Yes.
Yeah, very intelligent. All you guys are. I'm actually, thanks for having
You too,
me.
man. You too, man. Like, I knew we would have a really
Oh,
in-depth
dude, I am
conversation.
just a weirdo, creative art dude. That's all. My
Same.
mind is just.
Oh, since you're into computer science, do you know much about quantum computing?
That is beyond me, my friend. I
Yeah.
don't know. That's another. You guys should be my roommate if you want to talk about quantum computing or determinism. He loves that conversation.
Bring him over
too.
next time.
Interesting.
He reads a lot of Brian Greene books about the cosmos and the universe and like all kinds of stuff. But yeah, I don't know much about it. But I should. I'd like to study more about it, especially after watching that show Devs, because that deals with determinism. You would love it, dude. That would be your number one favorite television show of all
I'll have
time.
to look into it.
It is. It's intense. I'll just say that. It's not intense in what you would think. It's like all of your ideals, like determinism, quantum computing. It tackles those things tenfold, and it's like it applies them into a real world scenario that could not happen. Nick Offerman's in the show too, which is pretty cool if you guys like Parks and Rec.
I gotta check that. You said it's on Hulu?
It's on Hulu. Yeah,
Okay.
it's like 10 episodes long. Each episode's about an hour, but we watched it through together, and mind's blown.
Oh wow.
Nice.
Yeah, we actually had to wait for each week. Now you guys can just breeze through it. Lucky ducks.
Oh, if you do end up getting into and studying quantum computing, I just found out today. I was watching a video about it. They have 3 or 4 different quantum computers that are open source on a cloud that
That's
you can
crazy,
actually
yeah.
interface with, and then have it run whatever kind of.
I don't even know
you
what you guys are talking about. What is that?
It's pretty over my head as well. He probably would know even more than I would about it. But it basically is if you show a picture of an A to you what you determine it as is an A. But if you showed it to a quantum computer, it represents that as a variability between zeros and ones. So there's a certain
converts it to binary,
combination of those,
Okay.
and then it
Open
can
source
do
quantum
that.
computing.
It can do that as well as the way they were explaining it is still pretty heavy, but it's like there's a quarter and then, there's heads or tails. That's like the 0 and 1, but that you can also spin the quarter and then it's in a kind of harmony between both the 0 and 1
Yeah.
at any given point. It gets extremely complicated.
It breaks
What
it
the
down.
fuck?
So this kind of digs into a lot of things. I know you guys know what string theory is, but it kind of it's like so you got probability. It dives into all possible outcomes. And so that's what quantum computing is. It's like there's like very few computers that can run at that speed because you need a hell of memory, you need a hell of CPU.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, to determine all outcomes of all possibilities. And Devs, the show I was talking about, tackles all of that. So you should
I
watch
gotta
that.
check that out.
Like
Yeah.
literally, it does. So say you have a computer that could predict all outcomes of this 2020 election, like every single way, like no matter what state's a swing state or whatever, they've already and I guarantee you, this is the scary part, is it's not a future thing anymore. It is a right now thing that can happen. They have quantum computers, like you said, that can determine all possible outcomes. Like right now for COVID, they're already doing this. I did see something on Reddit, and it was kind of over my head for a little bit, but for statistics-wise, they deduced like how many cases there will be in the next 6 months total,
What the fuck?
based on the data that's already alive. And it sucks because the data is always changing. But say you have enough data now, which we do because it's been around for so long, they can determine where it's going to cap off at, and that can be deaths, that can be recovery rate, that can be anything. And it's ridiculous because it gives you all possible outcomes. And that's why it's scary to click on articles these days because there's so much misinformation
Yes.
that's reproduced.
That's something we were talking about recently too.
Yeah, it's terrifying.
Yeah.
And that's why, honestly, man, media is doing more harm than good these days.
Yes.
And I hate to say it, it's
Resorting to so much
Specifically
clickbait.
social
it
media.
is. Clickbait is, God, man, I didn't think how, 5 years ago, I was like, clickbait, okay, I get it. I know what's clickbait, but now you don't know clickbait for back clickbait. You're like, I do want to click that. It's crazy.
Yeah. Yep. It's we have such a everyone has a supercomputer in their pockets. We
I hate it. Like, dude, I want to go back and play on my Nokia and just play Snake and just talk to people.
We have so much access, but there's so much bullshit.
It is. It's awful.
Yeah, I mean, there's with the uprising and the technology we have with the internet in particular, there's just as much room for you to reinforce your biases by getting into the groups that already
Sure.
feed into what you believe, or you can go into it with the purpose of, in the spirit of truth, which is what we really should be doing, I think, anyways, and challenging all of our predispositions and biases that we hold.
It's uncanny.
But it can be one of the hardest things to do, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's scary. It really is.
I mean, everybody wants to be right, but it's hard to want to challenge what you already think you're right on.
And nobody wants to take both ideals for, as a possible thing. Like, okay, I'll see both sides. Nobody wants to see both sides. We live in a cancel culture, which is terrifying.
Yeah.
Like, oh man, I've seen so many like I believe in forgiveness. Like, that's not something that's aside from religion. I just believe, I think people deserve a second chance. That's why the justice system exists. You get X amount of years for X amount of crime. They've determined this. How? Not quite sure, but it's determined on the crime, whatever. So people can be rehabilitated. The cancel culture is kind of toxic because it's like, oh, you're canceled. And it's just blacklisted and it's on the internet and it's there forever. It's like written in stone.
And the other thing
Stored
is,
on a server
it doesn't.
somewhere.
That's true. On the other hand, it doesn't fucking work every time they try it.
Yeah.
Like cancel me, okay?
Yeah, and well, it's like, and also it's like kind of if you're and this gets I hate to be, I'm going to teeter on conspiracy. I'm not going to go full conspiracy, but the more money you have, the more you can kind of veto that.
If you're saying my name, even in a negative context, you're giving me publicity.
Yeah.
So it's like it's so
Trump,
contradictory
really.
to what
That's
they
very
want
true.
to do.
Yeah, and that's what's scary about him is like he is very much a kind of a silver-tongued orator, if you will. Like he can flip the script in a second, and he can tweet whatever, and then boom, like his followers are like, yeah, and I'm just like that shouldn't be a thing. I don't think like presence in Twitter. I don't think that should be a thing. I don't know. I'm sorry.
It's pretty impressive how untouchable he really is. Just because from the very beginning, I mean, if you give him anything, you got to say he's pretty straightforward. Like you know what he's going for the most part. He's not as two-faced or kind of hiding behind the scenes. His real
He's the first
playbook.
president I've seen do that. Yeah, it's just kind of like this is who I am.
That was a lot of his appeal for people too. Is that he's
like,
not a puppet. He's like even if despite what he is, he's a human being, and that's what a lot of people were thinking when he got elected. I don't feel bad saying this at all. Fuck the president for how he's handled this recent thing.
Absolutely.
Fuck him.
Yeah, looting starts, shooting starts. Like that's the best. that's the best thing you can
piece of
say.
shit.
And then he hides in a bunker and they shut the lights off. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool story.
I'm not a fan of that at all.
No, that's I've never seen a more cowardly stance on. Like one thing, I'm neither left nor right. I'm very much
Same.
in the middle.
My thing. Let me catch you up real quick. My thing is I just don't like putting labels on it because it's like the minute
the party system's fucked.
Yeah, the minute you identify as like part of this group or this group, that's the problem.
Team mentality.
That's the problem.
Just diversify.
Exactly.
Because like personally, I'm pro-life, but I'm also pro-gun. So what am I? What am I? So you know what I mean? It depends on the issue.
For sure.
And I'm sorry, you were saying something. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I honestly forgot where I was going to go with this. Oh yeah, say what you want about Obama. The Obama dude addressed the nation a ton as a president. He was really good at speaking to the nation, no matter what was going on. But something like this happens, and you're like crickets. You're like, where's our leader at?
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's saying anything, and that's why I like the fact that the Secretary of Defense called him out, and he was like, "Yo, this is terrible. Why are you handling it? Yeah, why are you handling it this poorly? This shouldn't be a thing." Which is sad. It probably cost that guy's job, but thank God he said something and spoke his
That's an American hero.
Yeah, like honestly, like you got to be honest in the situation. Craziness.
Yep. Yeah. Like we're so lucky to be alive at such a crucial point in history.
Yeah, I would say so.
We're all
And
so lucky.
I do think things will eventually get better. I think it's going to take, unfortunately, a generation to die off for things to get that way, but it will get that way. I think a lot of this younger generation is really impressing me a lot. They're doing
Some of them.
yeah, not all, but some. But I'm saying that like they get it, like they get it, and they're educating,
Older people.
people younger, older and younger. They're doing both sides. They're educating younger and older. So they will be, and they're the generation that's grown up with computers in their homes. I remember when I got a computer in my home for the first time. It blows my mind. So I'm like, dude, they're gonna lead, they're gonna lead their kids to do amazing things.
Yeah.
Because they see both the good and the bad of the internet.
You are an optimistic nihilist.
Told you, man. Yeah, like, oh, I mean, shit's gonna happen. Shit's gonna destroy. But I'm like, come what may. That's kind of what I am. Like, I'm ready for it. Iron sharpens iron. We're gonna get stronger before we, fall down. So
That's a good hot take that makes me feel good. Like it's not.
yeah, man. And that's why I fucking deleted Facebook. Like, get off social media. Trust your instincts and start having actual conversations like we are now amongst each other and talk this out because it's not all hostility.
Yep. Like I would have someone on my podcast that I don't really agree with too, just so we can have a civil discourse and talk it out.
For sure.
Because that's so rare, especially when people disagree about things.
Yeah.
To find a middle ground, hey, I don't hate you because you have this opinion. I just want to have a conversation.
Sure.
And that's so foreign to people today.
And that's another thing I'll say about the whole Black Lives Matter movement is some of it's been amazing. Like you said, but you mentioned all cops are bastards, but then some of it's really? They're critiquing each other on the same side. And I'm like, we don't need this. Yeah. And we don't need this.
The far left has crazy infighting.
It's bad.
No,
it's
who's allowed?
Bad. It's collapsing in on itself. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a black hole.
It almost kind of devolves the farthest left you go. It almost seems to devolve into it's a game of victimology points, and then depending on how discriminated or how victimized you are, and you get a certain amount of points. Yeah,
it's crazy.
And then you're supposed to just I don't know.
Civil discourse enters the room.
Yeah, what is that? Discourse?
What happened?
What? I don't know that person. Oh, thanks.
No, nothing. We're just talking about things.
So, have you heard of Daryl Davis by chance?
Why does that sound familiar? No, I don't think I have.
He's a black guy. And I'll tell you why that's pertinent to the story. This was back in, I think, the 80s or something. So he grew up being discriminated against heavily because he was in a very racist town. And obviously, the earlier you go back, the more racists that you'll find, because the more ignorance you'll find with the less access to information, basically. And easier to indoctrinate people that way.
Sure.
So he lives his whole life, just not being able to understand how can someone hate me on the basis of my color, my skin color, just the level of melanin within my skin.
Right.
They just test me, but he just can't understand that. And that eats him alive his whole life. And he goes throughout his whole life studying this, devoting a good portion of his time to try to understand the theology behind racism and discriminatory acts like that. Mm-hmm. So eventually it gets to a point where he becomes mildly successful, and he asks his secretary to book a meeting with the head of the Ku Klux Klan in his region. Wow. Which I think is called the Grand Dragon or something.
It is something crazy.
Something very illustrious.
Grand Wizard, Grand Dragon.
Yeah. So he books the meeting, but he says, "Don't tell them that I'm black. Just set up a meeting and say that."
The balls on this guy. I like him. Yeah.
So then basically that plays out. The guy shows up. He's extremely shocked. He's like, "Oh shit, this is a black guy." Yeah. But Daryl holds out his hand. Warm, open. Kind expression on his face. He's like, "Hello, I'm Daryl. I'm here to interview you." And then the guy actually shakes his hand, and he sits down with him because he has a very warm, kind demeanor. And basically, it took him decades upon decades, but through having civil discourse, coming to this man, treating him with respect, even though he knew that on the basis of his doctrine, that he viewed him as inferior, he still just saw that as a symptom of the man's ignorance. And then he's like, okay, he's just merely this way because of ignorance. And if he's open and willing enough to have a conversation with me and a civil exchange of ideas and perspectives, that we can actually reach somewhere with
Then
this.
world peace.
Which town was this in? Do you know?
I forget. It's a really rural. Back then, it was like there was actually one of the hot zones of the KKK was in that town.
Gotcha.
So they actually threw rocks at him and stuff when he was a kid and everything.
Probably fucking
Mississippi.
Pulaski.
Yeah, well, Pulaski, Mississippi, or something. Yeah.
So basically, eventually, he got the Grand Dragon to leave and renounce his
amazing.
his
He shook up an entire
loyalty to them, and he got over 20 plus people to leave as well. And so many people just want to paint KKK. They're like, what ignorant, disgusting trash, filth. These people are just racist monsters. They should be put to the stake. And all these terrible things. And it's like they're just victims of ignorance.
That's
all
where we
it is.
get
all that boils down to.
That's
And
where we
it's
get into
generations
determinism too,
Yeah.
because that if you want to unpack that more, you can. But it's like something me and him have discussed a lot is like when you get someone like you could use the worst examples of people like
Oh, for sure. And they could be stereotypes because that's applicable in the conversation.
and you could handpick anyone and they're the victim of circumstance. They're the way they are because of the way they are.
You're born in a small southern town, and you had parents who were both racist or had things done to them because it was taught to them by their parents. And this is kind of irrelevant, but kind of relevant at the same time. My grandfather, great guy, had a stroke when I was 5, 6 or so. So I didn't really get to know him at his full potential, but he was a great guy. Type of guy that would give you the sharp of his back. He was a mechanic. He also drove a Greyhound bus. So he would pull over to the side of the road and help people all the time.
Nice.
He was also a member of the KKK. And I didn't know that. It's crazy. The role of public education should be on teaching that kids should have.
Good question.
Let me read that aloud for anyone listening. Someone in comments says, "What do you think the role of public education should be in teaching about Black history to advocate for better awareness and to discuss modern racial prejudice and impact discriminatory behavior?"
That's a great question.
That's a big question.
I definitely think, even when I was in high school, which has been, 10 years now, but the history books are still inaccurate and they're going to have to constantly be rewritten. Especially what's going on now. This will be in history books without a doubt, because this is now
Absolutely.
kind of echoes of the civil rights movement coming back into play, reanalyzing laws.
This is the biggest civil rights movement ever.
Yeah, reanalyzing everything that was, that should have been what King stood for, Dr. King. It needs to be taught and it needs to be examined the right way. But the thing is, it's not just history books now. You have servers and hard drives full of things that actually happened. But the thing is, the media, again, I hate to bring them back up, it's the media that has portrayed things so anyway, and that needs to be analyzed too, because that in and of itself is
that's part of the history.
Yeah, exactly. It's a bunch of misdirection, and it's kind of who you have to paint it from a universal point of view.
You're right. What really needs to be not lost when they document this time in history is how the media was talking about that.
Absolutely, and that's huge to me personally, because I'm that's going to divide people more than unite them. Yeah, it's huge.
For sure. I don't. I'm trying to think how to answer this question.
It is a tough one.
I think the role. Is it even a question?
It is. It's public education. He's asking,
Well, what do you think?
What role should schools have in teaching about the discrimination against Black people throughout history and how to combat that? It seems like.
Yeah. I would say.
I think they could.
I think the problem is
focus
with our
more
police.
so-
It's not a race issue.
They could focus. They do well, it seems, in schools to depict slavery and all the aspects of that. But they could focus more heavily, in my view, perhaps on the ignorance surrounding that.
Absolutely.
And educating yourself not just taking in whatever you hear around you, but
Absolutely.
taking in all perspectives and all angles and all variables that you possibly can withstand on any given subject to have the broadest view to if you have the broadest view and you add the most variables to any given situation, then you can hone in to what seems to be probability wise the most accurate.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
You can't talk about American history without talking about slavery, without talking about like Alex Haley's The Roots. You can't talk. That still needs to be taught. But I agree with you. It needs to be modernized. It needs to be a current discussion and not a past discussion. It needs to be an ongoing thing.
I've never seen Roots, but I should.
You really should.
It's a good movie.
Old book too. I mean, both of them are great. But
Yeah, bring that new DVD on the Science of Screaming, was it?
oh yeah, Zen of Screaming
Zen
and
of
Roots.
Screaming.
Yeah, that's it.
Man, my watch
What a
list.
crazy!
Good
Holy
Yeah,
shit.
yeah. I know. You're gonna learn to scream, but you should just scream Roots, the book. Yeah, there you go. I got you, bud.
How long was Roots? I remember it being a pretty
It's
long
a
movie.
huge, it's a mini series, is really. So
Okay.
it's kind of it's massive. But we watched it in 8th grade. For me personally, I recommend anybody watch it.
Mhm.
It's universal. It's powerful.
It's heavy.
very, but it needs to be. It needs to be. It's not. It pulls no punches.
Yeah.
It's one of those things like I know about it because of what it is,
Yeah.
but I've never seen it.
But it's very necessary, and I think middle school is the perfect time because middle school is where your social groups, so you start to click off a little bit. I can't speak for everybody. I know you were homeschooled, but like me personally, from my middle school experience, became very cliquey. You have your group of friends, and obviously hormones are starting to develop, and you start to like everybody, and that just it needs to be taught then because it'll break down all of that because you see things universally. You're like, oh, color does not matter.
Mm-hmm.
And I grew up in Tennessee. I mean, there are course racisms everywhere. I saw that firsthand. But luckily, I was fortunate. I was friends with everybody. I've always been that way my entire life, no matter who you are.
You're just a very agreeable person.
Yeah, that's cool. I don't like to make enemies, man. I like to, and if I don't agree with somebody, I like to see them through unless they're like, again, a pillar of ignorance and there's just no reasoning or no talking with them. And I'm like, well, it's not that I don't want to be your friend. It's just that there's no common ground and we're not going to get anywhere.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, sometimes life's going to let you
I've
learn
known
the hardest
people like that,
lessons. Yeah. And I believe in karma. So I'm like, okay, life's going to teach you what you need to know or it won't, Some people are unchanged.
Do you believe in karma in a literal sense of in this life that if someone
That's
what
a
they
good
put
question.
out
Yeah.
will come back to them?
Yes, I do believe that. I believe
I also believe that.
I believe what you put out in the universe will come back. You have to be receptive to things. And sometimes we're all hypocrites of that because, we don't want to learn the hard lessons.
So here's what
But we must go through things, I believe.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but
No,
to
go
expand
for it.
on that just a little bit, I think not only is karma real, but some people die before they have time for their karma to be exacted. So what does that mean?
Again,
does that karma extend outside of this
I
life?
haven't read a Quran or any of those texts that do that, but I would assume, yeah.
Because that's what we're talking about now is heaven and hell.
Yeah.
Or something similar. Where
Sure.
your what you do in your life karmically affects your next life. And that's the shit that scares
It's
me.
like a ripple effect, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't believe
Until
in
you
the whole
eventually
karma
reach
thing.
enlightenment.
'Cause
That's
done
a
bunch
whole,
of
that's
bad shit
wild.
my
You
whole
read
I think
about
that's like a
life.
Buddhism.
It is,
kind of-
yeah.
It has
The
not
Buddhist
been done
beliefs will.
bad
Do you ever
to me.
listen to,
You know,
It
'cause I don't believe
I'm
it's-
drawing a blank. And I love him
It
dearly.
could be
Why is
that,
this-
So I've done terrible things.
He's a
too,
philosopher. He's like an English
If
philosopher
karma was
for
real,
Buddhist
it'd get me
beliefs.
back 10
Sam
times.
Harris?
No,
It might.
he's great though. It's
It
Alex
might.
something.
I've
Or
done
it
things
might have-
years
It's not
ago,
Alex, it's,
and it has not caught up to me.
It's killing me. I don't know why I can't think of his name right now. But anyways, he delves a lot into where Eastern
Maybe not
philosophy meets Western
but
philosophy.
maybe
And he's
it'll
like
happen
the
after
kind
you
of
die.
the focal
I feel
point at
like
the
karma
beginning.
only exists.
And he's actually pretty modern. He has lots of lectures on Spotify. I listen to him all the time.
Great, really bad.
Can't think of his name. Starts with an A.
I don't know, murder.
Sam also
somebody
gets really into that too, the kind of spirituality between.
Oh, is he alive?
rob
Is Sam
somebody
alive?
or-
Yeah.
Okay, I'll have to check him.
Yeah,
Like,
for sure.
You know,
Yeah.
He also gets into like
Something
AI.
I've seen a few of that.
and
Okay.
Determinism.
so he covers it all, the whole spectrum.
Oh yeah.
He sounds more
Well,
modern than
shit.
I need to check that out.
Maybe
He
like a
seems to
personal
try
thing, like you
to
feel the weight of it.
Rely
Like
on
you're
like
psychopath,
ag
there's
nauseum, like very
Like if you
like
know
reason and objectivity so much as you can,
I was gonna say.
but then also
No.
incorporates like love and
I'm saying maybe-
things like that into
Very
it, which
cool,
don't
man.
necessarily purely
still
reason.
young,
or
so-
Right,
Or
right. I like that though. You can analyze something like that.
like
Or maybe the karma is hell.
Hashtag Hinduism.
That's what you get,
All right.
bitch. Go
What
to
did he
hell.
say?
that was interesting what she was just saying.
What's that?
Like She said, like, well, I've done bad things, but I really haven't faced the penalty for that.
Like, no, nothing's bad happened to me in return.
Yeah, I mean,
so I don't believe in it.
So what do you do with that? Like, I guess that could be delayed karma, you know, like to still make karma work. It's like,
well, it happens
maybe it's
to
your
the
next
life.
yeah.
It's true, but I don't
And
know.
no.
God's waiting for you to get
That's an
comfortable,
interesting concept.
and then he's gonna.
Because it's like, are you being damned for, you know, obviously past lives? But at the same time, I believe that, you know, I also, it's kind of like I entertain both beliefs. I believe you can dictate your future,
Yeah.
like no matter your circumstances, unless, you know,
But then there must be a reason why you would choose to dictate where your life would head.
that's true. Determinism does come into play. So I'm like, if
That's such a
if you're a Chinese child born into a communist country, and you know that's your life, like, but you don't know anything other.
You don't know anything
Yeah,
else.
that's wow.
Or even
Anyone
if
in
you
the
do
cult.
even if you do have a full disposal of the internet at your benefit, there will be reasons why you would choose to continue to reinforce what you already believe or to challenge what you believe. And those reasons could be explained. It's just that we don't always have a clear-cut, you know, white and black reason for
True.
why this person chooses this, because there's so many, you know, insane scale of variables working that we can't even comprehend.
So,
Yeah.
if
And
you
that's
guys
why I
could
always-
read,
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
if you could reincarnate, right? What would you be, or
A creature or a person or
anything in the world?
anything. That's a good question.
I'd be a dildo.
You'd be a dildo.
He'd be like a
I'd be the happiest dildo in the world.
100% recyclable material dildo
Yeah.
made from compost or like natural thing.
Compost.
Eco-friendly dildo.
Eco-friendly, yeah.
Yeah.
It's one that's biodegradable.
I'd be the age 17. Like,
Yeah.
being into somebody's body that's 17. Once they turn 18, I reincarnate into another person's body that is turning 17 and be 17 for that year. And then when they turn 18, go into another body that's another 17-year-old.
Why 17?
What?
Because 16 is too
What?
immature, but 17 is like you have more vivid, like, of the world, like, of life.
Hmm.
But
And then
it's-
18
but
is
you're
like,
not an
fuck
adult.
you.
But you're not an adult. You can still be a
Oh, so no
young-
obligations.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh.
But 16, you're just too young.
I get it now.
Your parents still have rules and shit like that, and you can't leave curfew and all that.
17 is that golden age where you don't have responsibilities yet, but you're also old enough to make decisions on your own, kind of.
Yeah, like yeah, you have a lot more leeway at 17.
Damn, that's deep.
I guess it depends on what household you're in, though.
That's the point of like just living in somebody's body for a year, and you just move on to the next body, some other 17-year-old, and see how they live through their life. You
Yeah.
know.
Dude, that's, yeah. So the age 17, you'd embody the age of 17.
I am.
You would become 17.
That is so random.
What if
I
that
don't
gets
know, I just thought of
misinterpreted into like the cosmic calculator and you become like just the number 17 everywhere? Just some guy and you make him lose his
Every
mind.
every
Yeah.
time you're like a clock.
Yeah.
Oh my
exactly.
god.
It's
like
17 o'clock.
Oh my god. That reminds me of salvia, actually.
Well, salvia's a trip.
When I took salvia, I was like wallpaper.
I've
It's
heard,
weird as
I've
fuck.
heard some wild stories, and I don't know if that would be the best thing for me. Like I said, yeah, I've heard some.
I do not
It
recommend
seems
salvia.
similar enough to DMT, but you get way more of a takeaway with DMT, from what I've heard, than
Yeah.
salvia.
David, you've done salvia with me.
No, I haven't done DMT.
That's
What
right.
was your experience with salvia? I'm curious because I've heard so many different things.
Well, from
Suicide by
one
accident.
thing was
A
Alex
lot
had
of
some
people.
guitar riff
Fall off
playing
shit.
on a TV while I was taking it,
okay,
and then it felt
Even
like
so?
my body was
No.
transforming
I think
into a guitar,
that is
and
insane.
and my
Yeah.
back up to the nape, up to my neck was the fingerboard, and then I felt like my back was being plucked with every.
We were listening. We were
Your spine
listening.
became a fretboard. and
Yeah.
it's playing.
The song that was
very,
playing.
very weird.
When you were tripping salvia, the song that was playing was "Open Passageways" by All Them Witches.
Mm.
You're welcome.
What a good band. Yeah, that's great.
It was very, very strange. I remember that, and then I remember looking through like a child's eyes. Maybe it was me when I was younger. Maybe it was just some confabulation of my memory. But being like low to the ground on the grass, like a colorful little playground and a slide.
Yeah, that's wild. You missed the DNT topic earlier. That was a lot of fun.
This guy's comments are cracking me up. Yeah, we were talking about DMT earlier.
But Joe Rogan was not present, but he did pop up behind the couch.
His
and
spirit
said,
was
"Get out of here, Joe Rogan."
Yeah, I need to get on some DMT.
I wanna
That's
try
like the
DMT
pinnacle
too.
of what I want to try
And it's
in my
the thing
life.
is,
and I
it's
never
not
wanna stop.
recreational. It is a.
No, I know.
I want
It's
that
insane.
out of body experience.
I have no
Fun.
intentions of doing it for some euphoric
fun
feeling.
in it.
I've done it.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, I've done it once, and it's like if I could do it again, I wouldn't do it for another, for 6 months to a year because it's like you learn so much. It's,
And I would
I don't know if
I'd
I'd
like to say
go
I
out
would do
here.
it a lot if I had it, but I feel like that's such a bold
Well,
claim. There's no way I could say that.
my
unless I
buddy
actually
Eric
tried
did it, and he said that he's seen some really cool stuff. He's had moments where literally he's floating through space, and he's like literally floating through like different galaxies and planet bodies. And he's had some where like it was like your experience. He would be in a place where it's just a grassy field, and he would see things and see other things. He's had other like wilder stories that get kind of surreal, but like he's told me so many different times he's done it, and I'm like, man, I don't know if that's good to do it that much.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
The thing is, it's like, is that the pinnacle of lucid dreaming, or is that an actual, out of body
What I'm
experience?
convinced, and
Remember what I told you when you had your trip? What if it was like for real, like in reality,
Yeah.
but God was only making you think that you're just tripping, but it was for real.
when that same experience I was telling you guys, I was breaking that down for her, and she had the idea that like, what if that lady was just like singing her song, and like something dropped me there to hear it.
Yeah.
Like he was actually the grass.
Like a moment in time.
Like
yeah.
and like she was whatever she was saying, she was like praying it or singing to
Sure.
God and like showing him all the problems and struggles of her
Yeah.
family members or loved
That's
ones.
awesome.
That
So
You're
she
just
got-
observing that.
She
yeah.
got something
Yeah.
to talk to.
Yeah.
Like, she got
That's
to feel
crazy.
and she doesn't know
yeah.
that he's like part of the grass,
Yeah.
Like, and I was like, what if it was reality and God was just making you think, oh, you're just tripping?
So
Yeah. That's intense. Like
I
I
could
said,
just be a fly on the wall.
and that just goes to show you that, like, again, it's like take a walk in
Yeah.
somebody else's shoes.
I
Like,
believe
it's-
DMT is a vehicle. I think it gets you out, and then everything else is just what's out there.
Yeah.
Because that's certainly how it feels. Like you were talking about, they're like, no, that's bullshit. This is real.
Yeah, the moment I started thinking about, because it was fear, like, and if you think about fear and love being opposites, but it's like I was fearing something about in the physical world, and they were like, no, don't do that, don't think about that. And they didn't obviously communicate that. It was like a telepathic.
Telepathic,
thing.
yeah.
It's super strange,
Yeah.
And I was just like, all right, and then I won't do. And then the moment I did that, I told you it was uncomfortable. I felt like it felt like reverse birth. I felt like I was being sucked into a vacuum and like.
You were stuck between two places.
Yeah, it felt very strange. It felt like I was literally if I the only way to describe it is like diving into a pool of Jello, but it's very viscous and you're like you can't get through it.
Yeah.
It's very strange. And we watched. Yes, we talked about Midnight Gospel earlier too. Yeah, Duncan
Yeah.
Trussell, he's the man.
Speaking of Duncan Trussell, did you hear? You brought up Grateful Dead earlier, and I wanted to talk about. Have you heard his Grateful Dead
The
story?
best, where he swallows the string of
Hell
Zane's.
yeah.
It's so good, man. Duncan's great, man.
That
I want him
story-
to come to Zanies.
Dude, that one like teared me up because it's like funny, but that's also just a story.
But you can put yourself there and you're like, that's also terrifying. You're like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna die and not bother my friends.
Plus, he's such a good storyteller. So,
He's phenomenal.
yeah.
And his voice is hysterical. Like, it's so great, man. I love it.
To answer your question, Midnight Gospel is great.
Yeah.
Love Midnight Gospel.
Yeah, we talked about the Damien Eccles episode about higher magic,
Yeah.
and really, they're all good. I haven't finished it, actually. I've been saving, like, the last few
Me too.
episodes.
I've been
Yeah.
kind of taking my time with it.
The last one is the
I-
heaviest one.
That's the one where he interviews his mother, and his
Yeah.
mother's dead. Yeah.
Oh, she died?
She's dead. And that's what makes it even heavier.
Well,
yeah.
they were talking about her coming close to death. I didn't know she actually
And that's
died.
why, he wanted
Oh,
that to be
man.
the last story in the finale, because it's with his
Oh,
mother
my
that he's
God.
interviewing, and she's dead now.
Oh, wow.
Fuck, dude.
Yeah. It's that dude, respect to him, though,
You ever seen that?
for airing that. You know?
Well, it's
I'm not
pretty
saying
cool
it,
because
but
I'm not going to
it's
give
nice
too much of it
mention.
away, but basically she comes full circle and comes to the acceptance of her death. Then once you accept, that you are going to die and you come to peace with it, then you no longer fear it
Yeah.
at that point.
I did see, like, just the clip of them having that
Mhm.
discussion and how she was, like, making him feel okay with her death. And I was just like, that's
I don't know
so,
if it was that
It's
conversation.
It's heavy.
It's very
Yeah.
heavy.
I saw a clip where he was talking. It might have been his mom, and she was just saying, like, he was like, "What do you do with all that? That's too much." And she's like, "You cry."
You cry. Yeah. And I saw that, and I was just
I was like, "Shit, man, shit," because it's true. All that's true.
it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I told you, us metal guys are big soft. We do a lot of crying. I know. It's
Hey, no problem, man. Thanks for watching.
yeah, dude. Thanks for hanging out.
How long have we been going?
A long time. I was gonna say I got to get going here soon.
Yeah, we can call it quits here. I'm getting pretty tired, honestly.
Yeah.
But
Oh, do you wanna plug any of your band's stuff?
you can't talk about it. Can
Well,
you?
I've got a project. I'll just mention a name. The band name's gonna be called Embercleave, and it's I didn't come up with it. A buddy came up with it. It is a Magic the Gathering card. He's nerdy. It's heavy music. Embercleave. I don't know when we're gonna release anything. It's just very much in a project right now, but that'll be coming up. And then the other band that my buddy Kirk is doing is named Headbang Eternal.
Okay, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's a metal band for metal lovers of various subgenres. So that'll be cool.
Oh, you were telling me about that.
And support Eugen. Eugen is still a band, and
Eugen's
they
great.
they are writing a new EP right now. I've been blessed to hear some of it right now with their new vocalist, and it is god tier.
I
It's
can't
good.
wait. I'm
I
excited.
came up with a title, and they ran with it, and it's good stuff. So,
Fuck yeah, dude.
hopefully they'll let me get on some guest vocals. We'll see what happens. Maybe not. But yeah, check those out and support these guys as podcast rules. So,
Yeah, do that too. Listen to this guy. He knows what he's talking about.
Yeah.
Everyone have a good night.